Patty Greer, Tools for a New Paradigm Consciousness, Tools for a Pre- and Post-Disclosure World, Joining and Celebrating an Expanding and Ascending Earth, all of the above, being with Patty Greer on Earth in nature. Welcome, Patty.
Thank you. You and I have done, this is our 8th show, and we have covered so much territory. You approached me because of 8 movies, prestigious awards, Maker in History, and I am dancing today because it's not about playing with those low frequencies. It's about continuing to move forward no matter what the world looks like around us. And I think if anybody's been gifted the graduate course of this, I'm one of them. I'd be disrespected, I guess, is something that's commonplace in history, but it's not commonplace in this moment and moving forward into what I'm going to refer to as the new paradigm, because everybody's comfortable with that. But today's show is going to be really focused on the next, what we're moving into, and the tools that we can find naturally in ourselves. And a few little visits to stores, maybe for crystals or pendulums, you know, like dowsing rods, whatever it is that's your communication tool. But I think that rather than selling grand coursework, it's really about all of us moving into our own coursework and shifting our own frequency and really developing our intuition. And I am probably the last person on earth that can be tricked today, because my work has taken me to live in a place like this. I live in the woods. I like it here. I go to town for supplies, but I can tell that even the electric noise up here bothers me. So we're in this time where even electricity can't even be nice to us because it's been rigged. And I don't want to focus on the rigging and the smart grids and the city council. It's more about the free energy shows that I brought you. You and I just did a Ralph Ring show about the spacecraft that was invented, re-engineered from ET technology in the 60s by Ralph Ring. It's called the OTCX-1. You can find it online. And of course, it got removed by the military and taken by 2 semis with armed guards. They needed, 40 people to take down 2 brilliant scientists. But in fact, the spaceship did work. And in fact, we just had Ralph on the show. Alfred and I interviewed he and his wife, Marcia. And they talked about not only re-engineering it now, but how out in the ocean where there's pods of dolphin and pods of fish, large whales, and they now have pods of people building spaceships all over the world. So we're at this point where we're not trying to beg the government for the patents and, fight with the old ways. It's really about releasing and letting go, because that way doesn't work, and stepping into natural law again. And you, as a lawyer since the 60s, you must be so celebrating the possibility of this happening, yeah?
Well, I'm just grateful to have discovered and be on the same frequency as the ascending Earth, and to be in conversation with her, and in that movement, and not to be enmeshed and hypnotized by the noise of a distractor.
And boy, they are funded to distract. We are not funded to enlighten, but they are really funded to distract. But again, we're so close to the end. And I remember 20 years ago hearing everything is coming to the surface to be healed. That's pretty profound, rather than, oh my God, we're going to hell. It's everything's being pushed to the surface to be healed. The mother's done. The hard thing now is that the news is so confusing. And the funding, again, is going to all the fake news, to the point where you and I have to fight for our right to tell the truth. But as I started to learn more about the real new paradigm, or the new republic, you know, perhaps we're not the United States anymore. Perhaps Trump is an actor. Perhaps this circus is fully orchestrated and the punchline is about to play out. And I think we're there. I think it's any minute. And can you imagine all these years that you and your audience have known about 9/11, about chemtrails, about fluoride in the water, about all these things, and they call us names like we're conspiracy theorists, whereas we just knew 5 or 10 years earlier than they wanted us to. And I think that that's the reason that that we are done asking questions and taking names. We're just moving forward. And that, I think, is going to be the most empowering thing for humankind. So the tools for ascension, in my opinion, are, how can I myself, by myself, create a great world so that everything outside me is similar to what I'm trying to draw in energetically. And the shows that you and I have done, and the 8 movies that I did, the punchline was that everything is consciousness. Everything is plasma. Plasma is conscious. Consciousness in motion is emotion. So you've got energy and motion all over the place, and through your consciousness, you are sending out all kinds of beams of frequencies. And so when light workers are really on the target, you are going to be a magnet to those that say, oh my God, extinguish that light, and they will go to no end. But they don't realize that they're working in a different paradigm than what we're moving into. So it's why I don't come out of the woods as much as I used to. I can't do new paradigm around a whole lot of normal people, especially in the city of Boulder, Colorado, where we were the test city for smart grid. And the people still don't know why. I can hear the electricity sitting here, and I'm out in the friggin' forest. It's just dirty electricity. And those first bunch of years they had it, every time you go to any doctor's office in Colorado, they had 3 questions. Are you depressed? Do you feel a tendency to be depressed? Have you felt a little bit of depression? I mean, it's just like, you know? And so I'm thinking, oh my God, am I a conspiracy theorist, or is this true? You know, it's really a hard time to know if you're crazy, because they're gaslighting left and right. The news media is like, oh, I was somewhere yesterday and they said, do you love your kids? Give them a vaccine. It's just like they're singing it to the most uneducated part of your thinking. In public, now they're advertising when the CDC has been busted repeatedly. It's undeniable, unless I'm really living in a teeny little bubble called the internet. And outside us, the real news is like, nope, nope. So how can we best move forward? And I have to stop most of my friends halfway through conversations, because I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm really sorry the girl's a bitch, but can we stop talking about it and talk about the next? You know, like, let's move the rock off our personality. And I've been cycling. Oh my God. But I have had such a gift of all the distributors hiding my films. I have no income from any of the professionals that I've hired. I haven't met one person in the industry that I would ever recommend to anybody else. And now I'm watching the UFO field. Oh God, I love it. We're so smart. We're all so wise. We are all so full of wisdom and intuitive nature and telepathy. And here we go. Walk, 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 sinkhole, bang. Didn't even notice it. Oh, I'm so intuitive. Bang, sinkhole. I mean, the whole field is surprising me. And I have to stay loving. I choose not to slander, but I'm watching some pretty arrogant people act pretty foolish. And I've lovingly said to people, my experience is this. And as long as it's a truth and it's my experience, it's not slander, why would anybody walk in a sinkhole when it's right there in front of them? Oh, because they're looking up still. Fame, glory, ego. It's like this old paradigm has really warped most of the people I know and used to love. And I still love them, but at a distance. So a lot of people that have moved into the recalibration of new paradigm thinking have lost more than gained by far. Would you say you have?
Well, I'm actually starting over in 2017. I'm actually starting over, and that's a fact. I'm just starting over. It's as though everything that came before was just that's it, and I'm starting over. I'm starting afresh, and because I realized that everything I did up to 2017, you know, or a good part of it, was based on illusion. And I even documented. I mean, that's just me. So, but anyway, back to you.
Well, no, that's a really good point because it is all illusion. And I guess what we're going to move into now is choosing our illusion, knowing that we can create our field, we can draw to us what we wish. Still single, so maybe that's not totally true. But, you know, I think that by disciplining my mind, I've really shifted my thinking. But the tools, which I've been really forced to dig deeply for, because I want to be able to help people when something helps me. So I want to talk about just generic tools, as well as I'm leaving behind almost the conversation about crop circles for the beginning, because you and I have done a lot of shows about it. And I do want to mention my website is cropcirclefilms.com. So I have 8 movies, but the newest one, called Crop Circle Diaries, just received 2 new awards, my 7th and 8th awards for film, but they were for the newest movie, and it was people's choice. 1,200 people, and I heard it was pretty unanimous, voted for Crop Circle Diaries because it offered something really new, which is kind of what all of my movies offer. I filmed them myself. I have no training, and you can certainly tell that it is not a crew with a red camera and $1 million budget. It's a girl in the field who twists the knobs until it looks good, locks it on the tripod, and interviews the most brilliant people I've ever met in crop circles. To me, there's nothing more natural than organic. It's kind of like comparing food to highly processed food. I love fantastic movies, but they're not real UFO. Keep it organic if we're going to talk about something this important. So no, I don't have special effects. And if people actually realized the value of my films and started funding me, like Stephen Greer, who I'm not related to, um, I think that I still wouldn't do special effects, but I would have a lot more flying footage of you know, the more elegant parts of filming what we're doing here in the fields of Wiltshire. But I don't even feel drawn anymore. 8 movies. What happened for me is this tool set was gifted to me in 2007. And the tool set was basically a recalibration kit. And so when I learned when I was pregnant that all of a sudden I woke up and I needed tomato juice with lemon so badly that I would start crying if I couldn't get it. Now I tomato juice, please. Lemon? Ow. So I was craving it, and I realized, okay, my body is talking to me. I'm going to listen. So I got big vats of tomato juice and had a stack of lemons, and I was the happiest prego. The next pregnancy, I wanted pickles. I haven't had a pickle since. But the deli was closing one night, and I knocked, and I was scratching on the screen like, you got to give me a pickle. And I was like out huge. And she said, oh my God, you're so cute. She gives me a half a pickle. And I grabbed her hand and I said, no, a whole pickle. And my throat, it was me, it was this moving into listening to my higher self, or listening to the baby that was in there. But it's called listening. It is the hardest thing for a stubborn person, to shut the heck up and start listening. So I think women get this gift of pregnancy where it's not just you, but there's also this intuitive nature that builds to the point where you're forced to listen. Or, you know, you're a careless prego and you have your lousy mother. I mean, I don't know what other people do, but I do know that that was the first time where there was a voice outside my own thinking that I really realized was telling me something important. You need whatever it is in that tomato juice and lemon really badly. So that was, you know, many years ago. So now in all these years, I started being drawn to crystals. And I took a couple years of crystal training courses, which really shifted my frequency because I was always holding stones. And of all the stones on earth, I found one stone called moldavite. This is my little one. And moldavite is a green, glassy tektite that fell from space 300,000 years ago into the Moldau Valley in Czechoslovakia. And after my training courses, I decided to work in a friend's really overpriced museum crystal store, but oh God, it was great because I was in there with like amazing museum crystals. And I found myself always being drawn to the moldavite. And he had these chunk moldavite necklaces and chunk moldavite bracelets, and I'd hold it like a pendulum and it would swing and fly. And so I just wore it to death. And people would walk up and they'd say, hi, and then they'd step back and go, what? And it was this field that I was creating by so much ET frequencies. And I didn't realize, although they said to me in training and in all the books, moldavite is the highest vibrating mineral on earth because it's not of the earth. Did you know that?
It's the highest vibrating mineral on earth because what? Oh, because it's not of the earth.
Because it's not of the earth.
Wow.
Yeah. And you can see it's like molten glass. So what happened is that it splattered into the Moldau Valley. And that's why they call it moldavite. But it splattered into spew fields. And so people have been picking up little chunks and bits. But my other necklace is not quite so graceful. It's like a honking beast. And when I wear that, when I watch, you know, I just know what it is because I wear it with intention. It's like, let me just see, you know, if it really radiates and affects people. And of course, I've got it on me and I'm like, you know, transmitter tower. So when I wear it, it's funny. I do watch people kind of go, you like step back a little, a funny little look on their face. So moldavite, in my opinion, is a very, very important tool for ascension. I think that if you go to a crystal store and you ask them for a couple pieces of moldavite, here's what I used to do with everybody that came in the store. Moldavite was my favorite thing because you have to be dead almost to not feel it. So to get your hands to really pick up on what stones are best for you, you want to clap to get the blood moving and then like rub your hands to get like warmth, heat, to really wake up all the sensitivity in your hands, and then put 2 pieces of moldavite or one moldavite, one something gentle like a rose quartz or, you know, blue lace agate. But personally, I just go for 2 moldavites and close your mind and don't talk to the person at the store and just feel. And I'm going to say 90% of the people listening to your show are so intelligent, Alfred, that when they get 2 pieces of moldavite in their hands after clap, warm up the sensors, and then hold them in the palm, you're going to feel moldavite and you're going to want one. So there's places that sell them far more expensive than others, but at least go try it. Because for me, I think Moldavite was kind of like an A ride at Disneyland, a really fast ride. You know, it wasn't like, you know, slide. It was like, vroom. Moldavite really, I think, took me out of society quicker than any other stone could have, because my mind started having far more illusionary dreams when I would sleep. During the day, I felt my intuition, my vision was a lot more clear when I was wearing Moldavite. But then it's kind of like when you feel something that's got that high of a frequency, there's also that point where you have to draw the line. And they actually referred to me as the moho at the store because I just wore too much. So, Moldavite, Moldavite, I think it's a fantastic tool for ascension. Do you have a piece anywhere, Alfred?
I could. I've got all kinds of crystals in my collection. They're under my computer here, and I have a lot of crystals. And over the years, people have actually sent me crystals, and I
Nice.
have them here.
Well,
And yeah, so I
there's
might.
another very wonderful set of stones that I think are wonderful for people to play with energetically. They're for grounding and balancing, and they're called Boji stones, Boji. And one is usually round, and the other one is usually shaped round with a little head. And they're male and female, ultimately energetically. When you clap, warm up your hands, and hold two Boji stones, you will definitely feel them like a Mexican jumping beans in your hands. Really strong energy. And, you know, working in a crystal store, I had access to all kinds of stones, but I found myself always being drawn to show those to people. And the look on people's face when they've got Moldavite lighting up in their hand, very few people look scared. They were just like, you know, it's this shock that, oh my God, it's like Mexican jumping beans, but it's an ET stone from outer space, you know, and you can get it and you can wear it and you can sleep with them under your pillow. And I won't be surprised if people write me and say, thanks for that. My dreams took me to a whole new planet. CircleFilms.com. I'm info at. You can let me know if you have those dreams after you put Moldavite under your pillow. Also, beautiful double terminated crystal points. Termination is when the crystal comes to a point naturally, not when it's ground by a machine. But you know, crystals grow out of the ground and they will naturally have a point. This one, I believe, has been helped by humans, but a natural crystal will have a natural point. And a lot of them that are double terminated will have the point on both ends. And you'll find them like in the sand or the dirt, and they won't be attached to anything, which is incredible because they're still growing. So another tool that I use, a tool for ascension, also probably, I would say my phone to my guides, and I have many of them, is a pendulum. And a pendulum, you can use a necklace that you're wearing that's holding your energy. You can go out and buy yourself a pendulum for 5, 10, 20, 700. You know, you can buy a pendulum for whatever you want them to be. I have done so many free sessions for people, including Alfred, when I care about them. And it's a session is just give me permission to call in your guides, and I'm yours. Ask questions, and I will go into that state of connection with my guides and yours. And you create a language with your device, your pendulum, and you begin by introducing yourself. You hold your crystal, you get used to it, you wash it, you dry it, you put it in a full moon is a great way to clear it energetically, but it's really more about programming your tools yourself. From my heart and my mind into this pendulum, I want you to tell me how to communicate. This is how we want to communicate with ETs. We don't want to go in there with our guns and saxophones, you know, we want to go in there with the violin and sit back and not even touch a string until they show us their communication tool, show us how they communicate and how you're going to listen. you're going to shut the heck up. You're going to quiet your own self. You're not going to do hours of breathing in and out of your nose. You're going to go in the moment, and you're going to stop your thinking. And you're going to not be fearful. And you're going to realize what a glorious moment it is to not have fear and to be with something that you can listen to that's different than what you're used to. And that's new paradigm thinking. So when I went into crop circles at night, not sure if I'd do it tomorrow, I was so mesmerized that I wasn't thinking. I was moving with the flow of what I was being told to do, and 8 movies were co-produced in record time. I had no script, no plans, just a big old heavy-duty camera always hanging around my neck on a cord and a tripod under my arm. And when I was told to go somewhere, I'd just close my eyes and pull out my pendulum and go, is this true? All right, let's go. So languaging a pendulum is a beautiful thing. There is an easy intro, which is to you're always working with your guides. You're not working with the wind or spinning it by yourself, but it's a real honoring. If you're going to communicate with other dimensions, it's an honoring. It's a true openness to listen. So I always start with my new pendulums to see if they speak the same yes, no. And they'll have a very clear way to speak. For me, clockwise, counterclockwise, somehow never matters. But I say, first I always call in with respect. You always call in your guides. And I'm always above and below. Above, below. So it's always centered over my palm so that all of it's like when you meditate and your hands are making a circle, you're doing that with your pendulum, but it's more about just true connection of quieting your mind away from the world you've been living in, and you'll feel when it lights up. For me, I can look away and I can say, without moving my hand, obviously it's a yes, you can feel the big swing, but when I say show me a no, it changes immediately. And I move my hand away. My lower hand always moves away when I have the next question. I'd have to sit further back so you could see so much, but the hand moves away, and then the next question, the hand comes back, and the pendulum clearly responds again. So for me, a yes is always a circle. And if it's a really big circle, that is a huge yes. If it's a really small circle, look how quick it goes. It's a teeny little circle. And I didn't move my upper hand at all. I just moved my lower hand away to change the question. And then a no, if it's a really big no, it will swing back and forth. And if it's a teeny little no, you'll see the difference. It goes a lot smaller. Sometimes if I ask the same question twice, it'll hit me in the chest. And I always apologize. And if like when I would walk in a crop circle without even thinking, you get to the opening, I bow. It's just like there's an intuitive honoring when you're working with the other dimensions that you have to step into. And the distractions in my life of all the battering and the hacking and the fake phone calls, it's all to distract us from this. And this is going to be key. And every free energy device we hear about, it's magnetics, love, growing together, or it's plasma that we're talking. They're all the same, but it's only these two things that all of the brilliant inventors are talking about. I don't care which one you come up with, it's either magnetics or plasma. And all that is being attracted back to source. It's going back to natural law. It's going back to nature. And is also letting go of all these things that have been really, really trying to distract us. So Alfred and I made a commitment. We had a show booked a week ago. And I was going to name names and shoot guns at the enemy. And he got a little warning call 10 minutes before. What happened, Alfred?
Well, you know, there also, it was a very strange event, but it was just, you know, a signal, uh, not really that to let the dead bury their own dead. I mean, what are you going to do?
But it did something great for you and I.
Yeah.
It gave us a laugh for us to know so clearly that, boy, they're watching you and me. Oh, I'm so scared. Um, but it gave us reason to step back and say, how can we take this up a couple notches? Because this is boring. I mean, all this hacking and abuse is so boring. It's like high school bullies that are nicking, you know, like mosquitoes at a picnic. So I got the big swatter now. I'm just like, you know, I got the rage. It's about really putting our focus on new paradigm tools and getting people to raise their frequency. So the magic of all the movies that I made goes back to pickles and tomato juice, because it's about that listening to that small voice that you go, no freaking way, I hate tomato juice. And going, oh, wait a minute, there's something in me that's different, and I'm going to honor that. So let's move into telepathy as a new paradigm tool. Everybody pretty clear on the pendulum thing and the lesson of programming, clearing, cleansing, and then you have got one beautiful telephone to spirit. But what I want to say, just to complete this pendulum lesson, is that above and below, is that when you get really good at your telepathy and your empath nature, and your guides are really, really grateful that you finally picked up the phone, you're going to hear words, you're going to hear answers, so that when you do a reading for yourself, is this water good for me? You know, it will say yes. And then you'll say, is there something I should be adding to the water like lemon? And it'll say no. But then you'll hear something like too much acid for your system. You know, you'll hear that little voice. So as you start working with your pendulum, when you get little thoughts that are answers perhaps that you might not have come up with, pat yourself on the back and go, oh, good, good, okay. And the thing about working with crystals and pendulums is that the more you do it, the better you'll get. So the more practice, the better. It's also about your guides saying, oh, thank you for picking up the phone. Because we are so not alone. And I think that's the hardest thing for us to realize in such a selfish world when we're so busy being busy. We are so busy being busy that we have to go to a meditation group to meditate, or a yoga class to discipline ourselves. So perhaps it's a good thing to step back from society for a few years or for a few minutes, whatever it takes. But working with these tools is going to make it a whole lot easier for every single one of you as we step into the new paradigm. So the magical moments of making my movies was all about telepathy. I did no research. I don't ever, nope, nope. I did go looking for photos a couple times, but I didn't ever use other people's research. Thank God, because um, I don't think there's anybody in the research of crop circles that has the same opinion that I do, which really amazes me. But it's because the system did such a good job hiding William Levengood's work. Again, old paradigm behavior. But why would they go to that much trouble like they're doing with me today to hide his work again, which is, I think, what they were scared that I would come up with, because I was not a researcher of other people's misinformation, but rather an experiencer going into a lot of crop circles. And even if I went with people, I would walk in alone, wish them well, and see on the other side, because this is me going alone and working with the earth. And so all those years, I always went to the center, laid down with my head in the middle, closed my eyes. And the thing about crop circles is that 10, 15 feet out from the actual formation, you can feel the plasma vortex. You can feel it expand beyond the boundary of the crop circle, sometimes even weeks after they happen. Now, even though we've done previous shows about the science of crop circles, I do want to go into it again because it took me 5 different mornings with Penny Kelly, who was the real co-partner of William Levengood, the only scientist in the world that proved crop circles were real, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I feel like I'm the only filmmaker in the world that has proved crop circles are real beyond the shadow of a doubt. And I know that that's why I'm being so carefully hidden. But I'm not hidden. My website, cropcirclefilms.com, is where you'll find me. If you just look up Patty Greer, Patty Crop Circles, you should be able to find me. But Amazon has been fascinating. You have to look up Patty Greer because I think I found me on page 4. Page 1, 2, and 3 is crop circle cartoons, 8-minute crop circle trash, and page 1, crop circle movies on Amazon is definitely a manipulation of we don't want this getting out. So my movies are, you can find them. You can certainly find it on the website. But there's been quite the effort because there's this last ditch effort to keep us uneducated, to keep us eating poisoned food, which is just completely ridiculous. And all the conversations about plasma physics, when we talk about what's really happening to produce crop circles, what we have is 2 counter-rotating vortices coming through water. There's always an aquifer of water under almost every crop circle documented. So water's part of the elements. They're coming out of the earth in pairs, counter-rotating. So one's going clockwise, one's going counterclockwise, and you've got these spinning vortices of plasma. And the plasma vortex is layered with different frequencies that have distinct boundary conditions. And sometimes there can be 6, 8, 10 different frequencies in a spinning plasma vortex. So you've got these 2 vortices spinning, and they're pulling in all these predetermined other frequencies. Ion electron avalanche, thermogradients, electromagnetics. There's just all different kinds of frequencies. And if perhaps this was an ET circle where perhaps a species had said to the earth, we need a star map to this place, then she would throw down that crop circle. So as her spinning counter vortices are, building, then those frequencies of the question, of the particular location that they're looking for, of the possible location of where they are in time, so that the message splat goes down in seconds, and what you have is a star map for them to see to go that way. So that is a crop circle where the ETs were working with the earth. There's many instances, 3 in my movies. One was my own experience, which really touches me, where humans were meditating or discussing or feeling a very strong feeling, asking spirit to deliver an answer in a crop circle. And the next day, that crop circle showed up with the identical pattern. In my first movie, The Wake Up Call, anybody listening? Bert Janssen and Janet Osebard went to a pub in England with a group of friends, and they laid a photo group on the table of these Celtic cross tiles, like church tiles, painted Celtic crosses, but they put the one in the middle that was really tricky, and it was 5 Celtic crosses at an angle in a big square. And 2 days later, it showed up in a crop circle, 5 Celtic crosses in a square. It was too good to be true. And I documented it in my first film. When I was making crop circle diaries. It was one of the most astounding pieces of my filmmaking history. I was taken twice that I know of, probably many other times, but twice that I know of where I was, my body was there on the planet, but I was taken somewhere else. And it turns out through a 3-hour regression, and instantly I did remember that it was the Akashic Records Library, which they called the Library of Illumination. And when I had my regression, my boyfriend was filming 3 hours of me under, I don't want to say a spell, but regression therapy mode. I didn't even need to watch the footage. I remembered every single thing. And it was a crystal castle. It was underwater. The colors were unbelievable. It was a place I'd never seen on this planet. It was colors I'm not used to seeing. There were 5 pillars. There was a star on the top. The water's going like this, and we're just moving slowly. And I'm just like, oh my God, the colors, and everything in me is just like moving and in the colors. It was magnificent. But when I was brought back, my vision, I could see things in the sky that I'd never seen before. And I show people how to see it all the time. What are we seeing? Plasma. Why are we seeing it? Because we're not busy. We're stopping. We're not doing 6 hours of transcendental meditation. We are stop thinking, looking into the sky, and seeing things that we've never seen before because we're quieting our mind. And so what I saw in the sky was these round things and these worm-shaped things that are the consistency of a jellyfish, where you can see that it is a form and it's moving, but you can see through it. So there's still sky. And again, I think, oh my God, am I imagining this? Am I like losing my mind? But I've taken groups of 50 people out when I do my workshops, and 45 will see it. And it takes all of 2 minutes. So what we have is the ability to see and sense so much more. But so many people are lost in the world of needing to go to work, needing to be there on time, running to lunch, having more coffee, and having to make a living. And she's like, run, 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 texting everywhere so you don't, God forbid, look up and notice the UFO that's, you know, dancing in the sky above your head. So, you know, we are, all of us independently, being tested right now of, are you willing to stop what you're doing and start going back into your natural law of who you are, and start raising your frequency so that you can prepare yourself for the new paradigm. So this was never my thoughts, but ever since being taken in the crop circle in 2007 and starting to see all this stuff in the sky, in 2010 was when I had my regression by Mary Rodwell. And I never forgot what that castle looked like. And then in 2012, I had a friend come up to my house. I was up in a different mountain house, a beautiful lake, and it was sunset. And she started to show me these photos of an artist named Ariel Ali, A-L-I, E-R-I-A-L, A-L-I. He does the most surreal paintings I've ever seen. And so she shows me the first couple of paintings, and I'm starting to shake, like I'm feeling myself recalibrate. And I'm like, oh my God, who is this guy? And then the fourth photo, castle, there it was, 5 pillars, a star, water everywhere. And I started tears, shaking. And my friend's like, what's going on with you? And I said, oh my God, this is where they took me. Who is this guy? Where is this place? This is the Crystal Castle. This is incredible. And it's underwater. I mean, wow, this is it. And so the guy's phone number was there. It was so easy. I couldn't wait for morning. 10:30 at night, I'm still looking at the thing. I'm still totally like shook and affected. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is real. This is where they took me. Oh God, I'm just going crazy. I'm just imagining this. Oh no. So I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning and I make a nice pot of coffee and I sit down, I'm looking out at the lake thinking, oh, that was quite an amazing night, remembering, and then seeing this, I can't wait till it's proper time to call him. So I open up my computer and, oh, good, there's a new crop circle last night. I belong to the cropcircleconnector.com in the UK. You guys might want to join if you love crop circles. And anytime there's a new crop circle, we get to know first thing in the morning, photos, ground shots, conditions of the wheat, barley, corn, whatever it is that got laid down into a formation. And so there was a new crop circle and I thought, oh, great. And I opened it up and it was a crystal castle, 5 pillars and a star. There were 5 drops of water below each pillar, 1 below each pillar, not a circle anywhere. They were drops of water. You can look it up online. It's called the Crystal Castle Crop Circle. I named it. I don't know if anybody else calls it that. I saw a lot of people turn the crop circle on its head. It was upside down. So a lot of people didn't even notice. But when I saw the Crystal Castle Crop Circle, and I knew that last night at 10:30, I was remembering. I realized that at 10:30 in America is 3:30 in England. There's 3 hours of darkness in August, in the middle of the night, where they could sneak out there and make a crop circle. I don't think humans could have made it. It was too massive and too incredible. But I realized that the circle makers, the earth, the mother, was responding to me. And I remembered thinking, okay, I cannot talk about this because people are going to really think I've gone woo-woo. But that's my crop circle. Oh my God, they responded. I am not imagining this. And so now I'm going nuts. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is the only crop circle the whole summer. There was like 50, 60 crop circles. Every single one had a circle, except the Crystal Castle. It was the only one that had no circle. Rectangles, star, drops of water. So I was in my glory going, don't talk about it. You know, I just felt warm and fuzzy. And the next day I got up, phase 2. The circle makers put a huge circle with a goddess inside. I am not exaggerating. Patty, you're not making it up. I mean, are they trying to make me crazy? Or are they trying to knock at my brain and say, we love you? I don't know. But I choose to go with door 2. I choose to believe that me saying, wow, not a circle in sight. So they throw down a circle bigger than the castle, which to me, like with talking to her, is her doing a huge circle, which I'm swinging my arm, saying, yes. So I chose to listen. And it was a very interesting third phase because this thing was far bigger than the castle. So if you look up Crystal Castle, look up Crystal Castle phase 2 and phase 3. So phase 2, again, named by little Patty Greer, who knows nothing about crop circles probably because she's all woo-woo. Phase 2 is the goddess shows up in the circle. But phase 3, and it took 2 weeks, she opened her arms. Phase 1 and 2 were days apart. It took her 2 weeks to open her arms, which was a message to me where I went, okay, I'm stubborn. Okay. I need to open my arms and be more loving to the world. And so it's been an interesting thing to let go of my thinking and just be a receiver now. And I think that's why they gave me all these movies, because I've been dealing with mercury poisoning for 13 years. And they knew I was in pretty heavy body surrender because as a harpist, pianist, singer-songwriter for 33 years, the mercury, which should have never happened to me, but I trusted a dentist, it only affected my fingertips. It didn't affect anything else. And what this whole thing wasn't Patty deserves to be poisoned, but Patty, we need your attention. We need you to make the crop circle movies for your planet. I mean, I don't know, you know, I feel like a willing participant at this point. And because it's cost me a house and a uh, a complete lifetime of savings to do this work. I know that the only way I can feel honored and great about it is to only focus on what's really going on, which is that this is magic. This is natural magic, learning to work with the planet. And I think all those times when I was really loving my gorgeous homes and my fancy car and popularity and all this stuff, I was totally missing the point of all of this magic. And I don't think we have to be so extreme, but in these times that we're in right now, it really is a choice to step into saying, oh my gosh, that was a message to me from the earth. That was an acknowledgement that I'm on the right path. Rather than feeling like a victim when you're, having such an attack, to say, wow, this work is really important. What an honor to be chosen. So I don't know anybody that's not having a hard time right now who is on the path of enlightenment. The only people I see making a lot of money are people I would never want to be friends with. So I think that we are in that really interesting transition of dirty money and new paradigm freedom. And I think that very soon we're going to see a big shift in all the money systems of the planet. And then a few years later, money's going to go away. And this is all about planetary ascension. And those of us that have developed the innate skills of being a human, of knowing how to listen, of honoring our bodies, of honoring our heart, are going to do a whole lot better than the rich people with a fancy car when all the systems collapse. So, system collapse is not where I want to leave that paragraph. What I want to say is it's the collapse of the old ways. It's not the collapse of what's new. And new is going to be far more important than the rest. I want to do a pause. So I'm going to do this so you know to cut the tape here. And I'm going to move out of the so much sun and see how long my battery will go, okay?
Okay, here we go. Okay, we're back now. And
so I want to talk more about
what?
Solutions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, where we're at now in 2017 is that it's going to be a little longer before our family and old friends that aren't up to speed on what we believe is true about chemtrails, about mercury fillings, about vaccines, about flu shots, about GMOs in food, fluoride in water. It's not about fighting with Monsanto anymore. It's about how can we bring our bodies to a point where we can remove all the toxins. For me, my test was mercury poisoning. And I think that anybody with mercury fillings or who's ever had a vaccine or a flu shot is probably sitting on a pile of that nasty silver metal that should have never been put in our body. But let's talk about how to detox, because this is now solution time. The damage has been done. We haven't gotten rid of the systems yet, but people are waking up. The CDC's been busted repeatedly. The lawsuits are massive. I don't know why they're still coming to work, kind of like the Fed. They still are. So we're still in the old paradigm in this dimension, but we need to take our bodies into the next. So there is a company in America called QuicksilverScientific.com. Quicksilver, which is silver, mercury, old school name, QuicksilverScientific.com. It's one of the only companies that I know of that will actually test you for inorganic mercury. And what we have in America is a system where they're testing us for the wrong mercury. Organic mercury is fish, environmental mercury. That's a certain toxicity, of course not good for the human body, but the crap they're putting in people's teeth is inorganic. It's a false mixture. They call it amalgam. they look like silver fillings, and most people over 50 have them. So the solutions to this are, the only real research, in my opinion, is two different websites. One is called DAMS, Dental Amalgam Mercury Solutions, DAMS. And the other one is IAOMT, International. Quicksilver Scientific, if you go to the website, they offer a try-test for dirty fillings and vaccines and flu shots. And I say dirty only because it shouldn't be put in a human body. It's a nice way to say it. So what are we going to do now? First, we need to test and see how heavy your poisoning is. And then you deal with it with proper detox. The test that you want to get is the try-test, which is little hair, little fingernails. You got to go to a doctor or someone that can draw blood and urine. It's a kit. You order it, you fill them up, and you send it to the lab FedEx. And in 2 weeks, you know where your body's at. But most people don't know to do this test. I had 7 years before I got the real test because my doctors aren't allowed to tell me. So my doctors basically lied to me, because when I took them the test, after I took it, the lab called me, the owner, great man, scientist, PhD, Christopher Shade, called me personally and said, the good news is we make a lot of detox here at the lab. The bad news is after 8 years leaving it in your teeth, you're one of the worst cases we've seen. So I have been through quite the journey with mercury poisoning, but had I not lost the use of my fingertips for all those years, I would have probably never stopped and learned to listen enough to make these movies. I would have never, ever gone and laid in a crop circle to heal because I was that desperate. I mean, I might have thought, wow, cool, let's go, you know, but it was never on my list. I never researched crop circles, UFOs. This was all a surprise chapter for me, but it's about being an empath, being intuitive, being psychic, and being willing. It's a package deal. Whereas you can have all these skills, but if you don't know how to listen, it's not going to do you any good. And if you can't be generous enough to do it for other people, then you're not serving. So I think that a lot of people, all of us, are given the tools, but we have to move to the woods, or we have to move to the woods in our mind. I haven't had TV for, 5, 8 years. And I miss it sometimes, but I met a friend recently. I mean, I've known her for a while, and she said, I don't even go on Facebook. And I went, no TV, no faceplant. What do you do with all that mind space? You know, can you imagine no faceplant, no YouTube, no distraction? Oh my God. No wonder I like talking to her, you know? So yeah, we're feeling these innate things now where we don't resonate with a lot of what we used to. For me, a lot, it's food. All these things I used to love eating, I'll open the fridge and go, no. And I'll just stand there staring at all these things I used to love, and I'll go, no. The grocery store, I'm like, 4 rows, wait a minute. And so I go, well, you know, it's kind of like friends. I guess I need to start looking for new foods. Are you finding that at all?
Well, I go through all kinds of phases. So I'm a 5-planet Gemini, so I fly and float all over the multiverse and omniverse all the time.
But I mean, with this recalibration of the last few years of so much energetic shifting in us, don't you feel a little change in the food you desire, or not really? Maybe men don't, or maybe people outside myself don't. I don't know.
I shift enormously, and so that the way that one way that I learn is through my books. I write a book to kind of prove to myself that what I'm seeing is correct, if you understand what I'm saying, because it's kind of far out, you know, and so I prove to myself that what I'm seeing is correct And so I can prove it to others so that I'm thought normal, you know, in a way, because I belong to that category of people that in the course of my life, I've run into a lot of difficulties uh, because I think outside of the box.
Yeah.
So
That is,
my legal
Sam,
training has come in. My legal and scientific training are a form of uh, social self-defense in this world.
I think that's what hobbies and wisdom projects are, is our self-defense, to remind ourselves that we have this wisdom and that we're here for a reason.
Yeah,
Now we got to take that reason and take it up a few notches. I really think all of us are going to have to push ourselves a little bit now to get to the next. And we are at the door. I don't think, I mean, all this false flag crap, you know, it's pretty stunning. But if, in fact, in the next few days we have a major false flag, everybody needs to keep breathing and realize these are actors. But the things that aren't actors is the pedophile problem in America, which around the world, to me, there's nothing fake about that. And so we're talking about frequency. As soon as I do that, boom, we just fall, because there's nothing lower on the planet than that going on. So the fact that if it's true that the swamp has been flushed, that thousands of people are being arrested, have been already, and that huge problem, which really has run the churches and run the politics and Hollywood for eons, when that releases, there's going to be this whole new energetic reset of freedom. And so the acceptance of, I'm not sure what feels different, but the world feels different, is something that people are going to have to get really good at. And I don't know how much the news is going to be able to tell us the names of all the people that they just arrested, the very famous, you know, people that we've been fighting about, shall we say, with spouses and best friends. I did have a temporary separation with my best friend of 18 years, somewhere between the globe going into gold-backed currency, which I do believe is going to happen, and the fact that, you know, the Clintons, Bushes, and Obamas probably weren't the best people. We have this huge separation. Two of the smartest women, I put myself kind of smart, you know, and she's just brilliant, but here we are, we can't even talk anymore. We cannot have a conversation for months. And I'd have to always say, stop, stop. We can't do this to each other. And finally, we just stopped talking. This is the goal of the group hiding my films, of the Monsanto human slayers, of all these dark entities that don't want us to go into the woods and become intuitive and to move back into our grace. They want us fighting with our friends and being right and being wrong and making money and stealing money and, you know, all this crap that has been instilled in us forever. And this war on consciousness, the only way to win is each person to step out of all of it and be strong again. And I think that people have forgotten what it is to be strong. We think that being rich, popular, fancy car that's freshly washed by somebody else's hands is being strong. I love it when I walk to somebody, up to someone who looks me in the eye and tells me something I don't know. I'm just like, man, that is sexy. You know, I am so easy to please. Just be honest, be present, and look me in the eye when you show up. And I'm putty. But I'm finding that the field I'm in, the UFO field, is a very, very difficult place to play now, because there's not enough people choosing to be integral. I'm kind of moving around the forest to stay out of the sun. But I think I'm one of the biggest fighters right now in the UFO field. I'm the only one busting chops that I know of. I'm the only one talking about being hacked like this. And people are saying to me, you're not the only one. You know, everybody's being hacked. It's like, well, don't say that vaguely. Tell me what's going on. You know, and I encourage all of us to stop being all independent and in our own little world and talk about it. You know, if you're being nailed on Amazon, Vimeo, YouTube also, talk about it. And when we realize that almost every honest UFO filmmaker or UFO speaker or disclosure speaker is being hacked, minimized, have to go to YouTube copyright school because, oh, wait a minute, it's your song, but they're just trying to screw with you. Or it's your material, but somebody who's working for the hacking team decides, you know, hey, I've had eight fake copyright claims on YouTube. Yeah, they want my movies off. The midgets, the insecure little pricks that are paying hackers. I've never called them pricks, but it's just like, it is so old paradigm. But here I am doing this amazing work with you, 8 shows. I used to sell so many movies after every show because the world is hungry for the good stuff. And then they just flatlined everything because we are winning. So we're at the very end of the little minis, the little mini mind thinkers. We're at the very end. And I really do believe that even though the news appears that we're bombing Syria and it's Trump's fault and everybody hate your neighbor and yell at your mom and hate, it's like, what if that's all a distraction? What if we're really evolving as a species? What if Sasha Stone just put out the cutie pie free energy device and lit up his event last Sunday? Oh, wait a minute, it did just happen. What if that goes all around the world for anybody to be able to buy and run their house? What if it's true? I think it is. What if Keshe wasn't all those things that they lied about? What if you actually looked him in the eye and he showed you what he had and it worked? What if all this lying crap went away because there were white hats loaded in infiltrating every dirty corporation? Big smile, she said. Yeah, I think we have infiltrated like they have. The little midgets have infiltrated Amazon, YouTube, Vimeo, and, you know, they're making sure to pump out all the circus material and make sure and get the good stuff on page 4 to 10, if they even let you be found. Yeah, we're in a very bizarre war with mental midgets. And the only way to win is to not buy in. I was affected because I've gone from having gorgeous homes to a very different lifestyle.
To having a gorgeous backyard.
Well, you know,
a priceless backyard.
Do you know that no matter where I live, I always have a pet fox? Not a pet, but a friend fox. Here I'm used to, but a fox is a really special, they're the gatekeeper to the fairy kingdom. Gatekeeper to the fairy kingdom, yeah, to the magical worlds. And when I first moved up here to this forest, I had a black fox, and she had a white tip tail. And then she brought us 3 pups, beautiful little red foxes with black tails, black legs, black ears. So it was a black fox mom that threw 3 red fox babies with black trim. And then she took off, left me the babies. So yeah, I've always had a lot of foxes to play with. That's my totem animal. And foxes are about scampering in the woods quietly, secretly, but doing an awful lot of work behind the scenes. Yeah. So I feel very gifted to be in the position I've been, to be a crop circle researcher. I mean, I can't imagine anything more fun than that. Spaceships, you know, what are you doing? You're going measuring the, you know, leftover radiation or leftover magnetics after the government has come and wiped the place clean. It's like, Why are they hiding crop circles so much? Well, gosh, they keep coming back. Now, of all the UFO fields, there's nothing that leaves more physical evidence than crop circles. Acres, acres of wheat are modified, and you can see biophysical changes in the wheat. You can't fake that. I think they faked a few at a time in a microwave oven, but come on. This is 100,000 of them in 4 acres of wheat. So what we have is these counter-rotating vortices coming out of the earth, and they're spinning really fast. And when they have come up with all the correct frequencies with those distinct boundary conditions from human consciousness, say that crazy girl up in Netherlands that was remembering that she was taken to the Crystal Castle, bang, my consciousness was spun into those vortices that night. My consciousness, little girl over there in America, but that little girl in America has served the circle makers for years. Yeah, they wanted to acknowledge me because there's times where I go, God, am I making this up? I mean, you got to ask yourself when it comes to anything UFO, am I nuts? But then you get something like the Crystal Castle crop circle, and the next day the goddess and the stubborn old mare took 2 weeks to open her arms and say, okay, how can I continue serving? So that was 2012. And it took me until 2016 to produce my, I'm pretty sure, final film, Crop Circle Diaries. That day in 2007 when I was taken, and I say taken because I don't know any better word. I don't ever say abducted. That is such a victim word. I don't say contacted because I was taken. I went to the Library of Illumination. I went to the Akashic Records Library with the mother, I don't know. The ETs, I don't know. And again, I don't need that answer. I'm not like who was on the ship with me, but I do remember the craft. And I just remember how smooth it moved through the water. And there was nothing stopping the flow. And I think that as we move into these higher frequencies of consciousness, there is nothing stopping the flow. And our dream time is going to be one of the more important times to do this work because it's when we're not working. It's never been more important than now for us to do the work and to bring in the people around us to move into these higher frequencies and to start working with the plasma field. My 5th movie, I think, is a great trainer for people. It's called Orbs and Light Beings. Orbs and Light Beings on my website, cropcirclefilms.com. It's got, without a doubt, the most incredible orb photos I've ever seen. And what we had was a morning when I got up early at the research center in Wiltshire, and I went over with the last man that I was in love with in 2010 or 11. And we went to the Silent Circle, which is where all the researchers would go first thing in the morning. We'd have coffee and cake and whisper to each other, hey, there's a new crop circle over there. And, there's one over at Silbury Hill, and we'd sneak out, and go cavalcade out together. But, first thing in the morning, we're just sitting there watching people come in. And
Now, okay, we're back. Now, Patty, I'd like to say that before we were cut off through this technicality, I experienced you as really modeling the new earth. And in your work, you were modeling the new earth. That is, you were in the new earth and with the new earth, and you were of the new earth, and it's as though crop circle is a term, but let's take the crop circle and put it over here and relanguage it. And rather than using the term crop circle, because crop circle is a sign and it's the way that the earth signals back. However, a crop circle is the result of a consciousness interaction between, say, yourself as a human and the earth. And so the earth comes back with a consciousness signal and with a plasma interaction. And that's what I call modeling the new earth, because as part of that, the crops are being enriched and they're being enhanced, and the nutritional value is going up so that everybody wins. So that, and in fact, this harkens back to an interview I was doing with Mel Vey, who is the founder of CCN, the Creative Consumer Network. And her work has shown that what is the Kalahari Desert now, prior to the Atlantean flood, in fact, was a high civilization that had a technology that was a crop circle based technology where they produced enough food for 6 billion people in what is the Kalahari Desert now at the southern tip of Africa. So prior to the Atlantean flood, which was a fight between the reptilians and the Atlans and the humans, their civilization had harnessed that to feed 6 billion people on from the southern tip of Africa, using that technology, because you can still see crop circle-like formations there. And so we kind of figured it out, and I included you and my interview and the article on your film and the science in the article about Mel Vey's discovery of this discovery of the pre-Atlantean civilization in the Kalahari, quote, desert. I actually sent it to you. You probably were too busy and didn't get into it. But so that all of this is coming together now because we're Atlantis rising. That's the significance of the ascension. It's Atlantis rising. We are Atlans, we're Atlanteans, and the ascension is that we're now recreating the fifth dimensional Earth. And we're rediscovering all of these principles. Now, we use a label, crop circle. The Atlanteans would use a different label because they were using it as a food enhancement technology. So right before we were cut off, I could tell in your description, and I was going to state that as we were cut off, that you were modeling, and in your film, you're really modeling the new Earth, which is the fifth dimensional Earth. And crop circle is is a term of art that was invented because people can't think of anything else. But it's really, if one wants to get into it functionally, there are other more descriptive terms that can evolve out of once we understand that we're now in a new relationship with, I know that you don't like to use that term because it's been appropriated by a negative entity. That is the term for the soul of Earth. Now, so that is really why I think that you found yourself targeted, because as a scientist and as a practitioner, through your particular art and practice of filmmaking, which, you know, you're a filmmaker in the same way that I'm an author or a broadcaster, but those are just our tools, but we really do a deeper kind of art. What you're doing is that you are actually doing the practice of, you are actually modeling life on the fifth dimensional Earth. That's what's actually happening. And so that is my experience and my interpretation of it. And I was having a conversation with a gentleman who is the director of a Omni Art, is kind of a organization, and he really understood that also, that, and because I was talking to him about he said, well, oh, crop circles don't show up anymore. And then I launched into a discussion of what we've been talking about and got into the more, you know, the actual interaction, and that crop circles is just a label that was created by a contemporary science that really didn't understand the basic processes. There'll be other labels that will come up that'll be deeper, you know. Oh, that's a new Earth answer. Oh, that's a, you know, because in the future there'll be other sorts of things. And so where you were dialoguing and saying that, oh, the new Earth gave me an individual answer, which I call the crystal castle. In the new type of dialogue, we'll have a way of languaging that individual answer, because we can talk about it now that Earthians, modern Earthians, are now opening up a dialogue that indigenous humans, ancient indigenous humans, understood, to the point that the Atlanteans produced in the southern tip of Africa, based on that same science, they produced enough to feed 6 billion people in what is now the Kalahari Desert, that was wiped out by the Atlantean flood, which was an attack by the reptilians, by the Draco reptilians. And we'll be interviewing Len Kasten on his new book on the Draco reptilians and their role in the Atlantean flood at the end of at the beginning of May. So all of these pieces are now coming together, and I'll send you again, and I'll put in the article accompanying this interview, I'll put links to Mel Vey's interview and the article, in which we've embedded both links to your film, Crop Circle Science, our interview on crop circle science, as well as a background on, as well as the interview to Mel Vey's documentation of the Atlanteans' crop circle machine, and Len Kasten's book on the reptilians. So that's how all of this comes together. Over to you.
Well, you know, you are the buffet keeper. You invite all of us to bring our delicious course to this grand meal. And it's going to be people like you that finally say, okay, everybody come in, the table is set. But if we keep saying, no, mine is the way, no, I'm the only one that knows, no, I'm right, you're wrong, that's how we're going to keep the field crippled. So as long as you keep setting the table and inviting, and all of the audience raises their frequencies to learn discernment, then you can throw the circus animals in front of them along with the wisdom keepers, and they'll be able to say, smell a rat. And then they'll go do some laundry until the next speaker's up. And I don't mean your show, but an event. No. Or, you know, we have to, it's not about counting on the event owners or the radio show host to always deliver us the goods. It's up to us to say, there's the goods. What do I resonate with? And if you don't resonate, why does this bother me? I'm going to keep fighting and I'm going to write really negative reviews. No, maybe instead I'll change the channel and watch Disney instead, you know, and do some acid. I'm kidding. Yeah. But, you know, people need to choose instead of sitting there and yelling at us on their comments, you know, well, you're just, it's like, well, then go watch murder somewhere, or, you know, go get your porn stuff out, you know. So it's not about judging. It's just saying we have to keep raising our frequency and reminding the people around us. And it took me a long time to stop being bothered by this group that's, you know, wanting to keep the data down. But let's go into what's amazing about the crop circles. Number one, they're beautiful pictograms. You know, there's binary codes that can't be reproduced. How are you going to do, you know, 7,000 little pixels in a field of dry wheat? A lot of these fields are done, if they're a brown crop circle, that was some pretty dry wheat. If they're green, then they're very supple, they're moving. A lot of times the green are barley. But when you get wheat in July or August, and you get a fresh crop circle laid down with blown nodes as they bend, that it's not all broken every 3 feet. When you go in a crop circle, you can tell in a minute and a half flat if humans came in with boards and ropes, because every 3 feet it's broken. And then you're walking 3 feet and, you know, you're on the ground, you dig through the wheat. It's a line of broken wheat. You know, it's kind of duh. A third grader, a kindergartner could figure it out if you said, where's the broken ones? Right there, mommy. It's like, you don't even have to be smart. On the other hand, if it's not broken every 3 feet and where there's a bend, there's this bubble. You look at the bubble and there's a burn hole where something hit those plants and made the water inside boil and blow a bubble, and then the steam needed to get out, so it burned a hole through and the steam came out. What could do that to 100,000 plants at the same time? What could do that to make 80,000 go that way, and then 20,000 go 20 degrees that way, and then there's another 100,000 that are, you know, rolling over and twisting and braiding? It's like, 3 hours of darkness. Those are some pretty clever guys. Wow, there's no broken wheat. It's all blown nodes. Then you get a little closer and you dig deeper. Wow, look at these elongated nodes, which is, here's the plant and it's growing up the stalk, and every 5-6 inches it's got a support, which is called a node, like a little elbow. What's happening? And Penny Kelly described this in Crop Circle Diaries. You called it Crop Circle Science. It's Crop Circle Diaries.
No, right.
And she described it as all plants are made of cellulose. I didn't know that cellulose is plastic, that all plants are made of cellulose. So if you pour boiling water on plastic, it's going to melt. So she said that when plants get hit with crop circle spinning plasma vortices, the heat is so intense when it directs them instantly what to do, it boils the liquid inside the stalk and it demands that it bend in the exact formation that it was told. It is a very conscious communication between the earth, sometimes ETs, but I think it's the earth's magnetism that is consciously focusing the plasma field to go exactly down that way, exactly down over there, circles here, diamonds there, triangles here, and then the whole picture is, oh my God, it's a hummingbird. Who knew? And when you're in the field, you're seeing circles and triangles and, you know, long lines. It's like, what is this pattern? And only until you fly over or see a photo do you even know what you're walking in as far as a pattern. What you know, though, is that the hair is standing up on your arms and you got goosebumps head to toe. And it's like you could shimmy because your whole body is tingling. And again, I have to speak for myself. But when I took Mike into the crop circles, when he was coming over from America, he was like, honey, I'm not going to humor you. I'm not going to pretend. And I'm like, hey, don't do me any favors. But when I took him in the first crop circle, we were walking in the tram line where the tractors drive their, you know, the wheels leave a tractor line, and etiquette on somebody's farm, you only walk in the tram lines. So we're walking in the tram line and I can feel it when I'm 20 feet. I'm like, whoo, yeah, I got that. And in 10 feet, it's like, zzz, woo, and I knew I was lit like a blowtorch. And I hadn't even seen the formation yet. I could just feel it. And I turned around to look at Mike. I was really subtle because I was staring at my arm like, oh my God. And his hair was like an inch tall, standing straight up, and his eyes were the size of watermelons. And I looked at him and I said, oh, honey, don't fake it for me. And he's just like, I mean, this is very, very real. And when we realized that the two really famous people, God bless them, they had a fight on his website. Colin Andrews, great man, lovely man, and Nancy Talbot. They've been famous for 30 years, you know, doing all the crop circle research. But to the best of his knowledge, the communication I found between the two balls of light laying down the crop circle in seconds was fake. And he told millions of people that it was fake for the last 30 years. But he and Nancy had this war on his Facebook timeline. Well, you were funded by Rockefeller. Well, you were funded by Rockefeller. What's that about? Why did a man come up to my booth years ago and tell me that 200 grand will buy you to do what you're told? So I don't know what's true, but it felt like people have been paid a lot to spin the same stories. And in my field, there is no one with a good crop circle movie on page 1, 2, or 3 that's any time in the last 10 years been made. Nothing new.
Yeah.
On crop, only cartoons.
Well, I can tell you, as somebody who was gang stalked by Governor Winthrop Rockefeller in 1966 in the faculty lounge of the Yale Law School, and this is 3 years prior to the infamous Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton matriculating into Yale Law School in 1970. I mean, I even preceded Bill and Hillary Clinton into Yale Law School. That whole thing was, you know, prior to the Rockefeller Initiative, which was how Bill and Hillary Clinton roped in the entire, quote, ufology and exopolitical aristocracy that were paid off and made by the Rockefellers in the 90s during Bill Clinton 1. You know, I know that story because I lived it. And it's all the Rockefellers. The Rockefeller brothers are a satanic coven, and they spread themselves around the US as a satanic coven. And they did that in crop circles. They did that in UFOs and exopolitics. In my entire adult life, I was gang stalked by the Rockefeller brothers and their coven. And you can go to Amazon.com and buy my memoir, which is My Journey Landing Heaven on Earth, and read all about it. And it's all documented. It's a thoroughly footnoted book, because Jerry, my partner, said, if you don't write it and tell it how it is, they're going to write it a different way. Now, I have a point in this article, because you said crop circle science, and as a book person, because in the same way that you do pendulums, I do bibliomancy, which is a pendulum using a book. It's a different science, okay? You know, I have literary guides. So I would suggest, here's a suggestion that's off the wall, okay? Take all your knowledge and take your films, your crop circle films, and creatively make, and I can give you, and I'd be glad to share all of my know-how with you through Create Space and Kindle. You can create a beautiful coffee table book called Crop Circle Science that will lay the whole thing out, and that will just be a tremendous gift to the world. And I suggest that as your next step. Anyway, I just want to say that because that came to me now, and I think that will break through and they won't be able to block you on that book. So I just wanted to state that. And you could turn out that book in about 6 months, and it's a very low cost proposition because you don't have to pay out costs. It all comes, there's a way that you can do it through percentages shared with the various companies, you know, but you still end up getting between 40 and 70% on the print on demand. So anyway, I'm just saying this because there's concrete hope, and that is one of my suggestions. Okay, I'm going to go back in my my listener mode.
Well, the thought of doing any more product for me right now just sounds like putting my hand in and turning on the garbage disposal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. It's only because until we flush the toilet, until we shift the channel, until we get rid of the people, the little midgets that are hiding all the good stuff and pumping out the circus material, until that chapter's over, it's not worth creating brilliant product. The product is here. We do have great movies. They're just all being put backstage.
All right.
But leaving that behind, talk about other than the incredible power of the pictures of crop circles, the messages, let's go back to the science, because it is why I think they hid Lefty and why they're hiding me. And, you know, people would say, oh, well, then it's Monsanto. Whatever, I don't know. But the punchline is that people don't know is the crop circles are coming out of the earth, counter-rotating vortices, and they're spinning, and they're making the plants have all this movement. And then the plants get this tremendous amount of heat, and they get hit with these charge density plasmas. They're called charge density plasmas. And the charge density plasma lights up everything in that plant that's alive and creates all of the seeds of plants hit by these spinning vortices to produce 30 to 400% more food with up to 70 and biofuel, food and biofuel with up to 75% more nutrition per plant.
Yeah, and so then this is going directly at Monsanto.
Well, you know, they they could be the ones that would be threatened by the world having a technology to, shall we say, enhance the food supply again. Not only is it growing a lot more food with a lot more nutrition,
Yeah.
but the heat process is creating these seeds to become super seeds. So in the lab, they tested them when it was too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry, and they couldn't kill them. These seeds became super seeds.
Yeah.
So crop circles are not only these multidimensional messages of the earth, the water, humanity, other dimensionals, all the atmospheric entities, all of us have the opportunity to share in creating a crop circle. And all of us get to share in the receiving of the information and the enhancements of the technologies. So what they did was they went into the lab with all these samples, and they had to sample specifically what is the frequency in the middle of the crop circle. 5 feet, 10 feet out from the middle, 15, 20. And they found something that I wish I had known all those years. They said that the highest frequency is on the exterior of each circle. I always lay in the middle with my head in the middle, so I don't know what's up with me, except I'm drawn there like a magnet. So I'm always in the middle, but I did hear that on the outside of the circle is a higher frequency. Lefty also, Levengood, Lefty, also said that the crop circles in America had higher frequencies than the ones in England and in other places around the world, because in America, we have this Great Plains where the wind can build. And when you can get the momentum of the wind going across the earth, building up all those frequencies also, then you've got a much more powerful spin when they actually get going. So that was interesting to me. And when you look at the corn plant, I mean, you know, wheat, barley, that's a skinny little stalk, but corn is like honker. Canola in England is like, you know, and they're hollow. But the corn, I mean, to me, that is the strongest plant to bend over. And they are just at a graceful curve. They're not bent at a 90. They're like a curve. So the heat, you know, takes that huge tube and melts it into compliance. But when you think there's hundreds of thousands of them, it's just like that's some serious, godly, earthly, spiritual, truly natural.
Now, doesn't it blow your mind? Doesn't it blow your mind that at the last juncture, 12,500 years ago, 9,500 BC, at which humanity had an advanced civilization on the planet, on the continent that was right up to the Pillars of Hercules, from the Bahamas to the Pillars of Hercules. And it had, you know, and it had various other continents. It had Africa and had, you know, like it said, oh, well, let's have our food made there. So it made the southern tip of Africa, and it grew the food for the 6 billion people in the southern tip of Africa with these, using advanced crop circle science then, right? And so it got up to that thing, and then it had the fight with the Dracos. It got up to this thing, and then kabooey, and now we're back up to that same point. We're up to that same point where, I mean, just in the past week, you know, the same souls probably are cycling back, you know, wanting global nuclear holocaust. And we know exactly, I can name them. I went to their offices in the 1980s. I can name them. And they are pushing the ideology that in order for the world's savior, for the Maitreya to come back, we've got to have a nuclear holocaust. We've got to repeat at Atlantis. And we're back to the same thing that happened in 9500 BC, when that civilization was a civilization based on the crop circle science. It was based on the crop circle science. We know that now. We know that now. We have broadcast those programs in the course of you and I doing the 8 shows. In the middle of those 8 shows, we've done other shows that have proved that. So now we have shows that have proved all of human history going back to the last fall. And now we're exactly here now. And in the last week, we have a situation where all the great nuclear powers are now, we gotta blow up the world. And it's all manipulation, and it's the same souls. And they're all trying to hide this new science that you have made films about, and that Penny Kelly and William Levengood from The Afterlife is trying to come in. I find that extraordinary. And I've been talking about that extraordinary confluence. I did a show last night with New Zealand with Vinnie Eastwood on Zealandia, which is about the continent of Mu. New Zealand is just the tip of the continent of Mu, which was sunk as a result of a war between the reptilians and the humans as part of the sinking of Atlantis. And that's all part of the cycle that we're going through now. And so we're on the same thing. The same people, the United States, in the Christchurch earthquake, sent over the US Navy and whole teams to Christchurch, and they had the entire Obama cabinet there. They hit Christchurch with a HARP earthquake and had all these ships with FEMA camps in the ships there, because they're trying to take over New Zealand as the 51st state for an elite theme park. You see what I'm saying? So it's still the same old story. So we are the Atlans who are coming back with our science, and we're trying to get our science up there. And then we have the reptilian hybrid humans who are, trying to do their thing, and we know exactly who they are. I'm not going to mention names, but they're trying to bring everybody back down, so that we have another global cataclysm, and that's happening again. So those are the stakes. That's exactly what's occurring now scientifically. So I think that we have to get your films out. We have to produce coffee table books. We have to produce mass paperbacks about this food production stuff. We have to get it out there. We can't hide our light under a bushel anymore. So we have to enroll. If you're not going to write the books, we have to enroll people to write the books, because Penny's not writing the books. I'm sitting here at the confluence of all of this information, because I cover everything from nuclear war to crop circle science. Over to you.
Well, Penny did write the book with Lefty, and it's called Spirituality and Consciousness, Volume 2, I think, something in consciousness. But her name is Penny Kelly. It's pennykelly.com. You can find her on pennykelly.com or Amazon. But she's written 23 books about consciousness. She's over the top. And she wrote one book with William Levengood that did talk about the science. And as much as I appreciate your thought about the book, it really is, for me, I'm the filmmaker. They gave me the movies,
Okay.
8. Really, the first movie, The Wake Up Call, anybody listening? I was just virgin girl going through crop circles with my jaw just, I was like, and I interviewed everybody, everything, the countryside. But at the end of the edit, I'm in Colorado. I've got this beautiful thing that I just did with some kid on Craigslist, an editor that I hired. I had no idea what I was doing, movie 1. We get to the end. I said, oh, God, that was easy. What a gorgeous film. This is more than for my family and friends. Maybe I'll see if I can take it to a film festival. I mean, I knew nothing. But we thought the movie was done. And I said to the kid, Wow, that was amazing. And we ended it with the Oliver's Castle footage where 2 balls of plasma drop a crop circle in seconds. Now, even though Mr. Famous said it was fake and everybody believed him, I didn't really study his work. So I didn't know to be misinformed, is how I'm going to say it politely. But I'm watching this footage and I was like, oh God, what a great ending of the movie. We're done. And cut. Let's use the word fiend. Okay, movie's over. Oh, wow, that was amazing. Let's go out on the deck, take a break, shut off all the gear, cool it off, and let's just go and relax. And then we're going to come in and watch it like we're 2 strangers. And if the movie's done, the movie's done. My first time. So we step out to the deck, and I looked over my shoulder, and on my monitor, you might have heard the story before, but it's how I started with all the telepathy. On my monitor was this big blue orb, and it had all this dynamic, interesting cellular stuff in it. And I said to the editor, oh, you forgot to turn off the monitor. There's a blue orb on it. And he looked over and he said, Patty, that monitor's unplugged from the wall. I walked over to the monitor and that blue orb was like crystal clear. I have a photo of the monitor with the orb on it, no plug. And, you can't see any wires coming out because there weren't any. And the blue orb wasn't anything in the movie. And I, all of a sudden, was like, whoo, chills, goosebumps, hair standing up on my arms. And the kid looked at me and he goes, you look weird. And I said, uh-huh. And I knew instantly that feeling and that hair standing up and the goosebumps. And I'm in Boulder, Colorado. I'm just like home. And all of a sudden, I felt like I was in a crop circle. And I'm looking at the blue orb and my body lights up like a blowtorch. And I said to the kid, turn the gear back on. I thought we were taking a break. No. Turn the gear back on. Something's going on. And now we got my eyes closed and the kid's like, oh God, the Boulder girls, hippie. I'm just like, no, turn the gear back on. Show me that ending again. Now I've got my eyes closed and I'm talking with my hands and this thing is coming through me. And I just said, reverse the footage. Why? I said, I don't know. Show me that balls of light, back it up. Let me see it backwards. So we watched it and I said, slow it down. He's just watching me and he said, how slow? And I said, I don't know, 30%. Why did I say that? Ooh, that was weird. So we slowed it down 30%, rewound it, and bang, right between those 2 balls of spinning plasma was this binary code, clear as day. White, black, black, white, white, black, different sizes, different. And I was like, oh my God. This crop circle's real. I know nothing. I'm like the newbie, but that's real. What we just found was a binary code. Oh my God. And still today, 2017, not one UFO researcher has said, wow, Patty, thank you for finding that. Not one. So this field, I don't know what's going on. I don't really care anymore. I just know that I'm supposed to do this and bring it. And I'm just going to hang with my 8 movies because I know that I'm going to get it out somehow. And the only reason I made the last 2 movies, thank God for Crop Circle Diaries, was that I did a show with you. And a guy wrote me and he said, I know what you're going through. How can I help you financially? And the guy sent me enough money to edit 2 films. Did I keep a penny? Not a goddamn penny for me, but I edited Crop Circle Diaries and The Women of Today. So for me, the only way I'm going to be able to keep making movies, or God forbid get them out to the world, is if there's people listening to the show that realize the value of this work and that might actually write me a letter and say, I would like to sponsor you. I would like to fund you. I would like to. Right now, I've got a new film distributor who's willing to take my movies and get them out there. But I have to spend about $5 grand to prepare each movie just to hand over. I've already dropped $750 grand, but I have to spend more money just to give them everything with a little bow. So, I'm at that point where if I can get some funding, any of the people watching the show, this work is so important. And women are as important as the men. I'm sorry. I mean, we shouldn't have to really fight for our rights, but we're taking off the burqa, we're coming out. And I think that's what's different now than Atlanta. Atlantis time is that the women, there's a lot of me. There's a lot of women that are just like, really? Really, you want some of that? I mean, we're not taking it. Every time these idiots hack me, I just go public and I say, really? darn, guess I got to call somebody famous and tell one more person who you are. And I stick to my promise. Every time I go and look at Amazon this week, all my movies are back on. My $20 films by their hackers are $750.64 each. I mean, it is such a moronic, foolish thing to keep hacking me, because this is me. I'm actually smiling. You are not affecting me in a bad way. You're just making me now say to the public, okay, well, they've stolen about $750,000 in exposure. And, you know, I can't imagine 8 years of if I actually had one good distributor and was pumping out the material like they're pumping out, shall we say, all the other people, my movies would have really been able to help with the ascension. But here we are, 2017, and I've tried every aspect of the film business and distribution. The only way you can get real movies out that tell the truth is to do it independently. So for $5,000 each, I can get my movies out. If I can come up with 25 grand, my movies are going to hit hard.
Right, right.
And
Now, can we do a crowdfunding with this interview? Would that help? Or
you know, it's possible. I might, you know, I've really tried to avoid crowdfunding. But if I can't get a few people, like I think I've had a total of 3 different people send me a surprising nice gift. To me, it's a surprising nice gift, but I'm coming to the point where I'm needing to say, it's the only way I'm going to get the films out. We are really in a war. And the people that have the ability to get the films out are devoted to circus material, spinning the same crap over and over and over. And if I look at, you know, the events, it's like, I almost want you to tell us about the Rockefeller Initiative, because, you know, I love Steve Bassett, and he's always talking about, you know, the Rockefeller Initiative, but we're never hearing about what he did for all these researchers that went to the ranch and it got a nice little check.
well, the Rockefeller Initiative, see, everything is backwards, and you have to look at the Rockefellers as the North American contractors for the Rothschilds, okay? And the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers are dark, evil, satanic forces allied with the Draco reptilians, allied with the off-planet black goo, the inorganic, pathogenic, artificial intelligence. And the 4 Rockefeller brothers were dispersed around America like a coven, and that's what how the quote American empire grew. And so the Rockefeller Initiative was an effort by the Rockefellers to design in a disinformational cover, a UFO disinformational cover to their industrialization through slave labor in industrial facilities in the solar system, slave labor industrial facilities in the solar system. And so they, around the mnemonic of disclosure, like disclosure was the carrot that was used. And so while they were busy at one end building slave labor camps and in alliance with negative manipulatory extraterrestrials that really are the source of the pedocriminal cultures, because the Draco, all the source of the uh, ritual child sacrifice and child cannibalism, that comes down from the Draco reptilian culture, because the Dracos have to live on human blood and human sacrifice. And so that is something that has been part of the Draco planetary culture for eons, and has been part of the Draco occupation of the planet for eons, and has been fed through the Dracos into governance and religion, because the Dracos presented themselves as the gods and as the kings. And so you had infant child sacrifice and ritual blood in both the religions and in the kingships. And that's why you go to the Roman Catholic Mass and you drink the blood of Christ and you eat the body of Christ. And that's why the Christian religion at the inside level is built on ritual child sacrifice of eating blood and drinking thing. And that's why government, the kings, where they wear those things, that's to make them look, because they look like Dracos with their miters. That's the imitation of the Dracos. Get it? It's all draconian. Draconian laws, it's all Draco. And so we're living on a draconian planet, and we are the cattle of the Draco that are on the surface and are ritually sacrificed. And, you know, so that's why so many millions of children go missing, et cetera, and why the FBI is under standing orders not to bust them. And all this stuff about that's being countermanded under the Trump administration is horse hockey. It's bullshit, because right now, Jared Kushner is a member of the Lubavitcher rabbi cult, and has been a lifelong member, and his family have put a lot of money into it, and they are the ones behind the nuclear warfare. And so there's, you know, that's why you have the US administration goes from one weekend they're for peace and the next weekend they're for nuclear holocaust. I mean, it's just, you know, and it is no use believing in any human government because they're all reptilian. The notion of human governments is reptilian to begin with. And so that's the truth of the matter. And so yeah. Now, I mean, if you really want to get down to it, so so my approach is to deeply research all areas and not to believe in political heroes. I mean, I grew up in Cuba where the political hero was Fidel Castro, who was the biggest crook on the face of the planet. Well, I mean, I could go into chapter and verse learning about what Castro did, you know, who was an Illuminati kingpin. And the US is run by the Illuminati. It's just a different version of Illuminati bumpkins that are in the White House now. Oh, Hitler didn't use gas. You know, they just put up bumpkins up there. Oh, he's a populist. Oh, let's put up a bumpkin as a press secretary. That's all. It's all for show.
And what if
yeah,
it's almost over? I mean,
what?
This is our job. Our job is to say this show is over.
Yeah.
Our job is to not give it that much attention. I have been curious if the Rockefeller Initiative did give these people all the support to obey. That was my
No,
question.
the Rockefeller Initiative is a sham, because Bill and Hillary Clinton were part of the Rockefeller crime gang. And their job was to go up and go, UFO, 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 oh, UFO, oh, we might go to Area 51, oh, UFO, UFO, and bring in all of these shills and give them some money, like Stephen Greer. And Stephen Greer, although he won't admit it, was brought in along with a bunch of other people into a secret brainwashing class in 1980 at the College of the Siskiyous near Mount Shasta. And that was it was a CIA training class of how to infiltrate the UFO and exopolitics movements in the late 1990s. And they briefed him on everything from 9/11 forward.
And who else was in that class?
There's a long list, and I know from 3 eyewitnesses who were there.
Why don't you name them?
I'm not going to do that in this show.
Okay.
But
Well,
I am going to
again-
name. I am going to name Stephen Greer as being there, and that's why the entire UFO and quote disclosure and exopolitical movement is just a meme movement. It's a government meme movement, and that's why it's going nowhere, because it's all false. And that's why the whistleblowers that I work with, I was quote thrown out of exopolitics by people like Paola Harris and Michael Salla, who are part of the Vatican and part of ASIO and part of the meme.
It's
So
hard.
none of them met with Governor Winthrop Rockefeller going back to 1966 and saw this whole charade from the beginning. None of them were part of the Carter administration exopolitical faction. And from that sort, I go way back. And I, like you, I don't take liars. I just tell the truth. And that's my background as a Native American, as an Hispanic from Cuba, as a family member whose family members go back to the Mayflower, and on my father's side, who settled Louisiana going back to the early 18th century. I just don't buy into the great American hustle at all, and never have. And my uncle was the deputy Black Pope of the Jesuit, the second in command of the Jesuits. So I've seen all of that corruption from birth. And, it's just a big hustle and a big deception by humans who are dancing the tune of the reptilians. And that's all that they're doing, because they don't know better. Everybody in Washington, everybody in Rome, everybody in London is dancing the tune of the reptilians. Everybody in these power structures, everybody in Israel, they're dancing the tune of the reptilians. And they don't know better.
It's a very hard time to be a wise person.
Yeah, and so I really support what you're doing, which is that you're coming out and you're dancing the tune of Earth.
And
showing us what Earth is. And I say, let's
yeah,
go for it, front and
I know
center.
you've been incredibly supportive. And you also wrote my favorite review of Crop Circle Diaries, where you said, this movie needs to be a textbook for everybody in high school, college, agriculturalists, politicians. You just went
Yeah,
down a list.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not about,
And I believe that. And so I believe that your movie needs the kind of support, and I don't want to use the word war chest because I hate the word war, because it's I win, you lose. But it needs the kind of community support to help re-educate we Atlanteans that are back, and that we are back to help the new Earth rise again and bring back our uh, civilization against, you know, the reptilians that have taken it over. 9/11 was a reptilian false flag. And
well, I think every time in history that we've been right at the edge of going gold backed, being honest, returning to integrity around the world, allowing all countries to have equal value. Every time that's happened in history, they sunk the Titanic, they killed Kennedy, they Gaddafi, Hussein. I mean, every time that we were this close to the transformation of humanity moving into integrity, bye-bye Federal Reserve,
yeah,
bye-bye Washington.
so you know, I mean, uh, there was a Crop Circle movie right when my Exopolitics book came out in 2005 by a Canadian, and he took that and he went on a tour where he took around to movie theaters, and you know, he would rent a movie theater and he would bring people in and kind of tour and stuff, and it's almost at that level. So I think that it's the similar sort of education that uh, the crop circle science, which you're bringing to light, really is a priority, because it's about the new earth and about the living earth. And that is what all of this emphasis of the war parties is trying to obscure. They're trying to obscure the new living earth. You know, and I found that out when I started publicizing Ascension. That's what the other side doesn't want. They don't want people to know that the earth is moving into fifth density and into a new earth. And that's what crop circle science is about. And so if you want to do a a crowdfunding with this, that's fine. If you want to do any other thing, however, I think that you're going to have to move off. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you're going to have to move into new places. And that's why I said a book. I mean, it wasn't that I was saying, oh, you've got to do a book. I was just trying to say, you've got to move it out there. You've got to, you know, start renting movies, theaters, get off their turf, start going on to TV shows, start going on to mainstream television, start, you know, start really and start talking about the new earth. All that the other side, which is in collapse now, is talking about, you know, the end of the earth and war. And I guess they might as well start talking about air drills now, you know, air raid drills, which they were talking about in the 1950s.
Well,
So
I want to see us fast forward, because I'm available for TV. I'm available for interviews.
yeah,
I I don't fly across the world for free anymore. I did say no to going to a really great event that just happened because I think it's important to honor the speakers and pay us a little bit.
Yeah.
But we are at the point where humanity is going to have to really take a stand. You're correct that the system is so corrupt, but I think that they're losing their power because, thank God for the whistleblowers. Julian Assange, Bradley Manning, those guys really changed history.
Yeah.
By stepping forward. And, you know, if people would look at how many of the medical people they've killed, how many of Hillary's aides and Russia's, you know, all the people that are accidentally dying, the bankers that are being thrown off the top of buildings, you know, because they're about to tell the truth, they're about to come clean. The astronauts, the, you know, my God, there's so many people that are waiting till their deathbed to tell the truth because they're under a gag order, a double gag order. It's like, get the frick over the gags. That is in the past. And I think the word gag is a pretty appropriate word. You know, it is a gag on humanity that we're sitting here watching a circus lead our way. But I think that humanity has evolved much further than, I mean, look what we're doing. We are talking about all kinds of very important things. How many people are going to see it? A lot. You know, we have unstoppable power now across the internet if we can get the right people listening and making a difference and supporting the work of where we need to go. Supporting you, supporting me. But look what we have. We have the Dracos getting all the money. And so we've got the same spin. And all these big events, for me, it's like, I spoke at a lot of UFO events last year and the year before. This year, I have one gig. And it's sponsored by the people that are hiding my films. So what happened 2 months ago? I got a phone call. I got pulled out of the one gig I've got this year. They wanted me to not speak, so they pulled me out. Next day, I'm sitting at the UFO conference, 1,500 people. And people are coming up, hey, I'm going to come see you speak at this other event. And I said, hey, you may as well cancel. They just pulled me. And when, you know, enough people came up, I called them on the phone and I was like, I know what's going on, but seriously, did you really pull me? Because I'm about to win Best Film. And I ended up winning 2 awards. But, you know, they called me back 5 minutes later and threw me in, and I get to speak at 7:30 in the morning. This is how I'm being treated.
Yeah.
And it's only because I tell the truth. I'm Julian Assange and a girl, but I'm a girl that people talk to. I'm a girl that talks to really important people, and the famous people can kiss mine because the famous people that are the money, you will never make it in my films. And it's not that you're wrong, it's that I don't resonate. And if we keep resonating with honoring the circus and allowing that to control our minds, then we do lose the war.
Yeah, but you're a girl because the earth is a girl. And because the earth has told you she's a girl. And because the earth has told you that she wants her science out. And you just told this audience that. And anybody who's listening to that has got to know that that's true.
You know, the fact that this incredible movie just won 2 new awards at the biggest UFO festival in the world. The fact that it won that much and there's no PR, there's no one actually showing up to say, wow, good job. I saw a couple of the paid informants that I know got money from Uncle Larry, and they were bickering about, well, Patty just, you know, that was like such an easy win. It's like, really? Was it because the movie was good? I think they said she brushed shoulders with someone. It's like, oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, that happened. It's like, no, 1,200 people voted for it because they learned something new. So we have to really work hard.
Well, yeah, this is about the new earth. This is about those forces that are trying to keep humanity down in third density of war, crime, disease, and poverty, and destruction. We've all witnessed the last couple of weeks. I mean, people, there's very few people on earth who aren't awake now. In a way, it was a gift what happened the last couple of weeks. People understand what two steps backwards means now.
But what if it's a huge distraction and they're really not dropping bombs in Syria? What if those women that are speaking out on their iPhones in Syria are saying, I don't know what you guys are hearing, but this isn't happening here? What if that's true? I think that we are so spun out on fake news.
Oh, you
And
mean
it's
you mean that the babies didn't die?
maybe. I don't know. I'm not there. I wasn't there. And when it comes to my films, if I didn't see it happen, I'm probably not going to tell that story. So I don't know. But from the call that I got this morning, which was all fifth dimension of what's coming, my lead said, all this talk about Syria is absolutely not true. It's a huge distraction to keep everybody angry at Trump and yelling at each other so that we can really pull off this ascension that's going on over there. So I think that a lot of us are being drawn to keep our rage up, to keep our anger up, to keep fighting with our friends and mad at Trump, when meanwhile, even though he's everything that people think he is, what if it's true that thousands of people have been arrested that Hillary would have never done because she's friends with them? You know, what if? What if all that's true, that we really are ascending, although the news says we're bombing, we're hate, war. What if that's really not true? What if behind the wall, we're actually evolving and we're pointing over there? Hey, we've come a long way. Last year, it was Kardashian's butt. So now that it's false flags, I don't know where the frequency is any different, than Kardashian's, whatever. But at least we're not focusing on Hollywood. Now we're focusing on the grim possibility that we could be moving into a nuclear war and destroy the entire planet. Well, if you think the mom is happy about that or the son is happy about that, they're not going to let it happen. I think that there's a whole lot of good going on. And that's why somehow I keep this amazing attitude and I'm still moving forward. But the film thing is very hard. I'm out about $1 million. That used to be a whole fun life. Now I'm not very social. I'm just sitting here waiting for the miracle, waiting for the shift, waiting for some gosh darn people that say, I care about the evolution. I want my kids to eat. Where's that girl? I want to get that film out so that the farmers can perhaps get this charge density plasma machine. So let's go back to the technology. So here's Lefty and Penny lab. They're experimenting with the magnetics coming out from the center of the circle. What we have is these sketches of counter-rotating vortices of coming out in always on a ley line, which is a line between two sacred sites. So now you've got high spiritual frequency and a crop circle sitting right there between two churches or between two monuments or between two long barrows where they've got the ancient wisdom keepers' bones buried and they bring them out for sacred ceremony. So you've got this high powered energy, you've got water always underneath where the circles are showing up, and so there's all this high frequency. Now, crop circles, why are more than 50-60% of them happening in Wiltshire, England? Same area is getting 75 out of 150 crop circles a year are within 20 miles of the Avery Stone Circle. Stonehenge, Silbury Hill, this whole area is just laced with sacred sites and crop circles constantly. So why are they coming there? Well, number one, there's more sacred sites than anywhere else on earth per square inch. Number two, you've got the crossing of the two most important ley lines on the planet, which are the Michael-Mary lines. And when I say the most important, they're just the highest frequency. And they cross right there at the Avery Stone Circle. And in the Avery Stone Circle, you've got 3 underground streams meeting. I mean, how can you not walk into that stone circle and buzz? So the circle makers have these beautiful miles and miles of farm fields that go across these undulating landscapes all across southern England. And so this is where most of the crop circles are showing up. And when they're sprinkled in Argentina, Brazil, here, there, there's almost always ley lines that they're sitting on and an aquifer underneath. So this consistency with the water says that the water is a very important part of crop circles. Well, look at our bodies, 80% water. And as we shift our plasmic field, we're shifting all that water inside us to a higher frequency. The water that I drink is always in glass bottles. And now I've got a friend doing 0 point water. So all my water, I try and do 0 point water to shift the frequency of my body system. So these are conscious moves that I'm doing because I got nailed because I trusted a dentist. Free nitrous oxide. Hey, chart said white porcelain, woke up mouthful of mercury. I'm like, what happened? Well, while you were unconscious, you changed your mind and told me to put in amalgams. Yeah, that happened. Never. But meanwhile, here I am 13 years later, and my life changed. So during the course of all of these movies, there were 2 times when I just got slammed with a telepathic word. And when I say slammed, I woke up in the morning going, recalibration! Oh my God, why did I say that? That is a word I've never said in my life. And this was like 8 years ago. It was in the beginning. I woke up and I just blurted out the word, recalibration. And my boyfriend was like, what'd you say? Oh my God, I don't know. That was the weirdest thing. And at noon, I was making lunch, beautiful house in the mountains, and all of a sudden the word came back in, recalibration. And I was like, son of a gun, there's that word. I couldn't remember it to write it down. So I wrote it down, recalibration, had no idea what it meant. And then at night it hit me again. And I was like, that's it, sticky note, bedroom door. And I'm gonna read it out loud every time I walk by it. And I finally figured out that I was really starting to have these weird heart palpitations when I'd come back from the crop circles. Like my heart was going boom, 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 and it never did that before. And I thought, oh great, I'm gonna have a stroke or heart attack. No, you're recalibrating. So I think it's an important word to share with the audience because number one, I listened. I woke up saying a word that I don't say. It hit me again at noon. And then when it hit me at night, I wrote it down. I wrote it down at noon because I was like, I can't even remember the word. It's too weird. 8 years ago, now it's like commonplace. But a lot of us are looking at the recalibration of our systems, thus eating differently. Sleeping, oh my God. Is everybody watching the show awake from 1 to 3 or 2 to 4 or 3 to 5? I mean, I think most of us are having hours in the middle of the night where we just don't sleep. Are you having that?
Irregularly.
Mine's been pretty consistent, but I always slept like a baby until I started making the films. And it was always 3 a.m. And I remember going, no, let me sleep. You know, I try and make deals. And I felt like I was talking to them. And I go, no, come on, sleep. You know. And next thing I knew, I get to hold the pen, hold the paper. I get up in the morning and just go, oh my God, I wrote that. So there's this interesting way that they're working with a lot of us now. I would imagine a book writer doing other dimensional information, you're going to be getting it a lot in your sleep time or what should have been sleep time. So yeah, we're being given the information in ways that we have to recalibrate to be a part of the system. The other word that they gave me explained to me why, and it shifted me out of feeling like, oh, poor me, mercury poisoning, because it sucked. I mean, this has been hard, fingertips full of cuts for 13 years. And giving up my music. You know, music is another piece of the crop circles. Music is this language of the spheres. It's the language of the earth. Everything is based on music. And so when all of those 3 music CDs that I have produced became soundtracks for my 8 movies, I went, how long have they been using me? How long have they been planning this? And it's why I had to stop playing music, because now it's the next chapter. Now you got to make the movies for the music to go in, or the music for the movie. You know, I mean, it was like, okay, whatever. and the price was right. It's my music. So, yeah, the process has been incredibly intuitive. But the next word that I got, which was about 6 or 8 years into really suffering with my hands, and I was like thinking, what did I do to deserve this? Why isn't it going away? God hates me. I'm doing all these movies. I was like whiny little victim. And I wake up one morning and there was the new word. And the word was transmitter. And at noon, transmitter. And I thought, oh yeah, this is like recalibration, because this is a word I don't use, and it just came in the back door again. But when it happened at night, I wrote it down. I said, okay, that's 3, and I wrote it down, transmitter, like what the heck? So that night, very night, I did a radio show, and I was blah, 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 blah about these 2 amazing crop circles at the turn of the century. We had the Arecibo message, where we sent that message out into space. Frank Drake and from the SETI telescope in Puerto Rico. We sent this message out, and it came back in 2001 or 2 in a binary code, and it had distinct changes where their head was bigger, their body was smaller, but we told them all this data about us, and they sent it back and gave us data about them. Their elements were different, their planetary system layout was different, their DNA was different. It was really specific and fabulous. But 1 year apart was the alien face in the disc. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
The big round disc with a binary code that said, beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. And it went on, believe there is good out there. We oppose deception, conduit closing, very clear message. And the other one was a very clear message. No coincidence, they were both in Wiltshire, England, 8 miles apart. And now I'm on this guy's radio show, blah, 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 about these 2 crop circles that were binary code, really important. But the interesting thing about those 2 crop circles was that both of them were in a field with a transmitter tower filled with satellite dishes. Transmitter. Oh my God, it's a metal tower. Totally forgetting I'm on the air. Totally took a left turn and went transmitter. Oh my God, satellite dish. Satellite, information comes in, information goes out. Oh my God, transmitter. And I'm doing this whole, I got it thing while I'm on somebody's show that, took a total left. So I had to stop my thinking, but I went, later. And so to realize that it wasn't because I'm a naughty girl that I deserve to be poisoned, or any of the bad karma stuff. It was that I needed to have that much metal in me to be able to transmute that information from other dimensions, and then transcend and transmute it to my dimension. So they filled me with all this mercury and made me like a metal tower. And I was such a wonderful sucker. I mean, I couldn't do enough crop circles. I would crawl. I remember one day when somebody said, "Oh, Nate, there's a new crop circle down at Quatley's farm." And I was like, "I can't walk. I'm so tired." And he said, "You're not coming?" And I said, "Here's my hand. Drag me." I mean, I dragged. I was so beyond tired. And another one of my favorite stories was 10:30 at night. I just came out of a crop circle. I mean, beyond exhaustion. And there's only one place that you could get soup that late, and it was the Black Horse Pub. And I pulled in, and I was so tired. I was just like, don't anybody talk to me. Just give me food and let me sleep, because tomorrow, another crop circle day. And, I pretty much worked alone. I had friends over there, but crop circles, I needed to be with the circle makers. I didn't do the social thing except for when I was out of the fields. Then I'm in love with everyone and trading data. But this particular night, I sat down, I got my soup. I just wanted to, let's get this done. And all of a sudden, bang, some 3 big, fat, noisy blokes kicked in the door of the pub, and they belly up to the bar, and one of them was soaked head to toe, and the other 2 were laughing, and they were loud, and they hadn't even started drinking. And they both ordered 2 pints, one for each hand, and a pint, you know, in America, we drink a glass of beer, I guess. I don't drink a glass of beer, but they had like gallon size, you know, huge. I guess it's a pint size, but they're big. And so they had one in each hand. And of course they picked the table right behind me. And I thought, okay, you know, I'm out of here. But then I started listening to them. And these 3 guys just were in a crop circle field. No, they were in a farm field making a crop circle with boards and ropes. These 3 guys were out making a crop circle at 10 at night. And the first guy, they start drinking, and I can hear them like hitting their teeth because they couldn't even wait to get the liquor, and they were so freaked out. And the guy that soaked head to toe was the only one not laughing. So what happened to them was they were in a field, and they were laying down the wheat, and a ball of light, a plasma spinning single ball of light, whizzed between the 3 of them. And the one guy wet himself head to toe, screamed, and the 3 of them ran to the car and straight to the pub. So I'm sitting here listening to Human Circle Makers. Wow, guys, that's a pretty hot story. So here you are, you're going to trick the world. But meanwhile, the mother said, yeah, really? Watch this. And she sent one of her little playmates to scare the pee out of them. So these 3 guys are at the pub. Now they're starting to slow down. Now they're on goblet 2. I should say mug 2. And I'm hearing them talk slower. But then the story got really heavy. And the first guy said, oh, mate, I could swear I saw a guy over in the field, another team. And the second guy goes, really? What did he look like? And he said, he was big. He had a hat and a coat. And there was somebody very short next to him. And the second guy goes, okay, you're freaking me out because I saw them too. And the third guy that's soaking wet just started to like almost hit his head on the table. He said, man, the ball of light wasn't enough. He said, I saw them also. So what we had in this field that night was shadow people.
Huh.
They were here. We had shadow people, gin folk, whatever you want to call them, and a spinning plasma ball of light. The message was, stop messing with the fields. This isn't funny. And I think the mother's been very, very patient with stupidity. But, you know, Doug and Dave was 1980s and 90s. Colin Andrews, you know, he's still winning awards for telling us it's all fake, but God bless him on his journey. You know, it's just time. And I can't work any harder. I do so many radio shows, and I am doing all this for free because we're in a time where the first hack was lovely. They put a message on my website. They 404 error messaged everything, and it was the ultimate message. It said, telling the truth in times of universal deceit is a revolutionary act. They said it in the beginning. That was 2013 when I had to start tolerating this immature activity. But you know, today it's like most women would say, I'm so over this, bye-bye. But instead I just say, thank you for showing me how important this is, because I'm listening. I'm not watching your bad actions. I'm listening to really what you're not saying. And I hear what you're not saying, which is, the world's not ready for UFOs. We're choosing to say the world's not ready. We're controlling. And it's like, you know what? That third dimensional crap is nothing more than third dimensional crap. We have moved the bus. We have stepped on forward. And there's people like you and I that are not going to quit. But what we need to do is get the support now of people that can afford to help us, because we can't do much if there's no PR. There's no PR for the honest UFO movies today. Absolutely none. Amazon is completely cooked. They are so infiltrated that I think if you, all I know is crop circles. And when I went searching, all I saw was crap on the first few pages. And my movies are really well hidden. So, you know, we are in a time of universal deceit. But the good thing is that the people that are really working with ETs and really working with, call it spirit, angels, whatever titles you want to put on it, we're not stoppable. We are unstoppable. You know, I mean, there's a better way. I have a family that I care about. And if you think I'm going to leave this trash pit for my kids and their kids, no, not if I can do anything about it. And I've already lost my lifestyle. This is not fun. This is not fun being robbed by losers. And they are really committed and really funded, but they don't matter because soon, as the shift happens, they won't even be in the history books. They won't even be on old toilet paper. This is such BS. All this Rockefeller, Rothschild, banking, Gaiam, I mean, all this Monsanto and chemtrails and all this stuff just to bring us down is to distract us from the evolution of our consciousness. And it's going to only be us standing in our power saying, you don't matter. You don't matter. I can get the detox test. I can eat tons of kale. I can purify my water. I can help bring in free energy. I can help bring in 0-point technology. I can help by continuing to support what's really right and increasing my intuition and keeping my empathic nature really present. So that when I meet you, I'm going to look at you and I'm not judging, I'm seeing. And there's a really big difference of judging and seeing. And I don't mean to say that women are the only ones that can have babies for a reason, but there is something very intuitive about the innate nature of women. We do see, perhaps more than men, who are really more bloodlined to go and get the meat for the family and go hunt and put the bear over their shoulder and bring it home. You know, I mean, we're counting on you guys to be the men. But when the men turn into maggots and the women turn into raging crazy girls, then the planet is useless. So what we have to do with our consciousness is to be a constant reminder. And when you said to me that I am setting an example of fifth dimensional living, that means the world to me because I've really sacrificed a lot to do this. And it's not like, oh, poor me at all. It's like, I feel really blessed. I've been in more than 100 crop circles. I walked in them of my own volition. Hey, it doesn't get much better than that. I mean, organic chocolate chip ice cream, that's pretty darn good, but walking in a crop circle, I think that's even better. And, you know, as I look at all that work that I did, all those years that I flew in those little planes with no door on my side and barely a seatbelt, I'm not sure I would do that today now that I'm detoxed. You know, that mercury made me a little woo-woo. I went in crop circles at night. Crop Circle Diaries features one story that I probably will never tell my kids, nor have they watched Crop Circle Diaries. I have beautiful children, but they are pretty much victims of the system because the system is really outplaying consciousness, but not for long. I think that we are really, really going to win this war. But I want to tell you one more really interesting story that I've barely told on the air of how Crop Circle Diaries came to be. So here I am. I've always had big, beautiful homes since I was 20. And now I am in a little cabin. And all my stuff is in 47 buckets of storage, other than what I'm, you know, living with. So upstairs is this little nook that's had 10 feet across, 10 feet high, no windows. And I thought, great, no storage unit. I'm just going to store all 47 buckets in this corner. So I stacked them to the ceiling 3 rows, and they were perfectly balanced. And I got this beautiful mandala tarp. And even though it's all next to my bed, you know, I just went, oh, it's just a wall of mandala glory, you know, and lifetime of history. So it's there for a year and a half, totally comfortable. And I start working with the crop circle frequencies again. And all of a sudden I hear this horrible crash. And I go running upstairs like, oh my God, did the ceiling just fall in? No, 2 entire stacks, 10 feet high, 10 feet across, fell. 2 stacks, not 1. 2 entire stacks from the ground up. The bottom row, the boxes were still there, but everything else was thrown forward. I looked at this 2 stacks of like 30 buckets, big plastic units. There was not a lid open except one. And it was that teeny little bucket in the bottom of the second row on the left. It was like the wrong size to have been there. I thought, oh, maybe that threw the pile. How is the lid open? The lid was open. I mean, it had 1,000 pounds on it, but everything was closed except this one bucket, and the lid was open. And so I was like, what the heck is in there? So I climb over these buckets, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get this stacked back up, because it took 2 men to, put it up. Luckily, I wasn't in bed, or luckily there was no passenger in bed, or he would have been dead, because it was a fall. But I go climbing in, and I dig into this bucket, and I'm like, son of a gun, it's receipts. Receipts. Well, the fire is going downstairs. The pot belly's going, all right, what year's the first one? You have to hang on to your crap for 7 years for taxes. So I was like, okay, first bag. So I grabbed the bag, and I thought, I'll just start, put them in the fire, burn it into fire. So I unzipped the plastic bag, and I looked down, and I was like, oh, 2007. And I'm digging, and it's like all my crop circle receipts, the B&B and the travel and the trains, and what is that? And in that envelope, not receipt, was this little orange notebook. And I was like, what the heck is that? And I reached in and I pulled it out, and I opened it up, and it looked familiar, and I was like, oh my God, it's my crop circle diary from that day when I woke up and sketched the plasma that I saw in the sky. And I fell back on the bed, and I looked at 30 boxes that had just gone everywhere. And I remembered yelling in the room, you had to dump 1,000 pounds just to get me to do crop circle diaries? And in that moment, I went, okay, the final movie. And that's how Crop Circle Diaries was born.
Wow.
And I took all the storage and I put it elsewhere. And all my valuable stuff I put elsewhere, because I did just evacuate 3 weeks ago for a fire. Living in the mountains is pretty scary right now when we're being messed with so much with the weather. And I am nervous about the mountains here. So I say them burning the mountains. I don't feel like anything is accidental. But I do feel like the greatest, most important thing that we can keep reiterating is we are all recalibrating. The planet is ascending. Women are speaking. They are taking off the black tent. They will not be stoned in the street or beaten by their husbands because it's appropriate. They will not be raping 2-year-olds because it's okay. I think this old, totally primitive way of treating women has got to go. And the consciousness of women is why it's been going on. We do have the empathy. We do have the intuition. A lot of fantastic men also do. And I would never minimize anything about a man as far as a woman, but we couldn't make a baby without you guys. So there is this true balance. But when we talk about the balance of good and evil, for the immediate now into the future, I think we really need to look at our history and say, evil had its turn. And all this talk about the divine feminine is really valid. And it's women like me that scare them the most, the little midgets, mental midgets, because I'm not doing it for the fame or the glory or the money. I'm doing it because I actually care. And when the people that actually care start getting together and banding, that's when we empower. And when people who actually care, who can afford to bring us more abundance so that we can get the work out, that's when we win as a species. But this separation right now of everybody funding the Rockefeller people, everybody funding those people that are so famous and on the top of every poster, well, why don't you frickin' wake up and realize you are dealing with an awful lot of my lab victims. And I think this is one of the biggest problems that's barely being talked about. These top speakers that are reiterating stuff that's absolutely not true, a lot of people are saying it's not their fault, they're brainwashed, they're mind wiped. But when I saw David Wilcock introduced Corey Good at Conscious Life Expo just last month. His introduction, he actually said it to the public. Corey grew up in my lab. He was experimented on since he was 6.
Huh.
Till he was 36. David introduced him that way. Now, what we know about my lab people, it's not their fault that they might be misleading an awful lot of people. But when it's public knowledge that he's mind controlled, and you see how many gigs he's getting, you've got to say, what is the purpose with the public? What's David's piece? Corey, I don't know him. I've never had a conversation. I've never watched their show. All I know is that when you mind control people starting at 6 years old, you can get them to do pretty much anything at this age. So when we've got this much funding going into mind controlled people, you said Stephen that he was at that meeting. And, you know, these are very big names. These are at a lot of events. These are highly funded, generously funded people. And it's not their fault. They're mind controlled. They're brainwashed. I'm not saying it as a judgment. I'm saying it as a listener. I heard David say it. I heard Richard Dolan say, everybody knows. All the producers know that it's not true, what's coming out. When are they going to do something about it? Well, they did. They put him in every gig this year. What's that going to do to the public? And then there's this one loudmouth girl who keeps trying to wake everybody up to say, this or mind control? Which one? Because they don't meet. So the agenda is being pumped out by the same people, and they are getting all the gigs, all the funding, and all the promotion. I'm not mad at them. I don't know them. And when I meet some of those people whose eyes are not there with me, I read them like a book, and I don't judge them. I see them. So even though people might think I'm really judgmental or really mean to people who lie, it's like, I'm not mean at all. I see you. And that beautiful line in Avatar, I see you. This is what they meant. I'm intuitive. I'm empathic. I'm not practicing. I am. When each one of us can say that and mean it, not out of their egocentric pride or their need to be something more than they are, but just to say, I see you. I am not distracted. I think that's when we're going to really, really love more and feel so much a part of each other's lives, is to stop texting when you're having a conversation with someone. At a restaurant, my kids have a new rule. Everybody puts their phone in the middle of the table, and whoever grabs theirs first buys everybody's dinner.
That's a good rule.
Isn't that great? There's another tool for ascension. Phones in the car when you come and have dinner with friends. Wouldn't that be great? I do want to throw out 2 more tools, because these are things, actually one that has really made a difference. I don't know how many of you are being affected by the radiation or all the health things that they're throwing at us, but I know that people talk about turmeric all the time. It blows my mind. Turmeric, however you want to say it. But you take a couple tablespoons of turmeric and then match it with the same amount of water, and you simmer it and you stir it, and you make a turmeric paste. And you simmer it, you bubble it just like a minute or 2, and you get it into a little paste, and you put it in glass, never plastic, and stick it in the fridge. And every day take a tablespoon, chase it with water. My joints, everything about me feels so much better. I'm sleeping again. Turmeric. So here we have all these expensive drugs and all this expensive everything. Meanwhile, all the secrets are right here in your kitchen. So trust me, try the turmeric paste if you're over 50. If you're over 30 and you hurt, hit it. And within a half hour, you're going to go, oh my God, I'm already feeling better. But I'm starting to do it every day. And I swear to God, if I keep doing it, I'm going to glow like you, Alfred. Your skin is just always glowing.
Really?
Do you do too? Yeah, you're always shiny. Have you ever done turmeric?
Not as such, but I'm going to try it out. Let's see what happens.
Really? Yeah. And you know, the pills, the capsules, all these different ways to take it, but just take the dang organic powder that you get at a good health food store and just mix it with boiling water, stir it up, and it only lasts maybe 4 or 5 days. So just do a few tablespoons at a time and stick it in the fridge. But oh my God, what a difference. So this show was something that you and I talked about doing rather than focusing on all that old paradigm stuff, to really talk about take our body, our mind, our soul from this moment forward and really move into the next, because that is our job. We've got good work here, bringing people along. But I think that if we keep generously working together and generously sharing our wisdom, rather than I'm right, you're wrong, but just to say, how can I work with you, then we really start building it. And I wasn't trying to make bad of Corey or Stephen. It's just we really need to start using our discernment with who's looking you in the eye and saying, I really did have contact. And who's looking you over there while they're, start reading people. And if you're texting, you don't have the time. And if you're not focused on the person you're talking to, then you're not going to see them. But when I saw that movie at Avatar and they said, I see you, I remember touching my heart. Because as a woman, a mother, a grandmother, and a devoted human to this planet, I probably have more wildlife friends than humans right now. But it's because I really choose to be pure-hearted. I really choose to live in pure truth. And I choose to stay in this field, but it takes a heck of a lot of money to get the work out. I honestly don't see myself doing a book because 8 movies, I've got a gorgeous library of the entire truth of crop circles. I do want to mention that they're all in one collection set for half price called Crop Circle Ecstasy. I've got my full collection set that's 8 movies, 4 music soundtracks, all in one box. You just turn the pages. And $125, you got 12 items, and it is a full story of crop circles, UFOs, and an awful lot of the original old guys in the field. My second movie is called UFOs, ETs, Abductees, and Brilliant Minds. And it was the old guys, Wendell Stevens, Bob Brown, Robert O. Dean, Roger Lear. A lot of these guys are not here now. Oh, no, some of them are. But these were the real guys. These were the 4-star generals, not today's actors and mind-controlled slaves, but, the real guys. They were in the military, that flew the planes, that saw the craft, and they're not waiting until their deathbed. But, they also didn't lead a wealthy life. This is a very expensive job to do. To be a whistleblower does not pay. And until we shift the paradigm and get people to wake up, it is probably the dumbest thing I could have chosen to do with my life savings, but I don't regret it at all. I just know that if I can get a few generous people to help me get the movies out to the world, these movies are going to get out and it can make a difference. So why the CDP? Why the charged density plasma machine? What we did in the lab, Lefty and Penny, was they recreated the spinning plasma vortices, and they kept experimenting. And you can see the machine in Crop Circle Diaries. They actually reinvented a machine that could make the seeds grow like they do in crop circles without being in a crop circle. And they experimented enough times that it did become a scientific discovery rather than a whimsical guess. It was a repeated lab experiment where the seeds really did grow 30 to 400% more food with up to 75% more nutrition per plant. We do know that the CDC, Monsanto, these clusters of satanic wonder will be deleted soon. Humanity is not going to sit around stuck on stupid this much longer. As these criminals fall away, we're going to need our advanced technologies to explode. And that's what this new paradigm is that there's going to be new wealth. There's going to be good people with money rather than dirty people with big money. And when the right people all of a sudden just give away their free energy devices, give away the water purification systems, but we need funding to create them. We need to get the R&D in the lab. You know, we need to bring the prototypes so that we can gift it to the market. And these are the things far more important than most of the research going on now is bringing these ET technologies to humanity. And the CDP is one of them. The charged density plasma reinvention of crop circle technologies can be done en masse, but we need funding. So this is my part of humanitarian projects, is to bring the food supply back. And I'm very excited about it. Penny's excited about it. And when we did that show with you, it was very predictable that you and I and Penny did one show and we were talking about doing 4. And it was a really great show because we got deep into the plasma. And within a day, she got funding and off she went. And she didn't do the rest of the shows with us. Well, a month later, she said to me, no, they fell through. So it was fake funding. It was a distraction. It was
it was fake funding. Yeah, I knew that instantly. The instant that you told me, I knew that it was.
So this is how they're playing.
What?
Right. This is how they're playing. You know,
yeah.
They're trying to distract our team from moving forward. But the interesting thing is that we're too smart now.
Yeah.
And the more we hack, the more we know they're scared.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be spending this time and money on me if they weren't scared. And if I were a 60-year-old man this scared of a girl, I'd be pretty embarrassed. You know, I mean, you guys should be pretty embarrassed. You know, give it up. I'm not quitting. So, you know, and for me, I really don't want to keep holding up the mirror. We have such important work to do rather than talking about criminal behavior and watching them still win today and more of your friends falling in the sinkhole. It's like, I used to care a lot more. Now,
yeah, but once you read about queen-based societies, a society that's queen-based can accomplish, let's say that king-based societies can accomplish this, queen-based societies can accomplish this. And the males are very afraid of queen-based societies for a whole number of reasons.
Well, the good thing is we really love you guys and we really want to work with you. But when we were talking about the positive negative balance,
I know.
darkness has had their time, so I think it's going to be the rise of the women now.
And, yeah. You see, now I know that it's, but Earth, the fact that Earth is male dominant is artificial and is the result of an imposed male dominance that's artificial. So that's the resistance. This is an historically artificial state.
Well, I hope that we have the return of nature, natural law, natural love, natural everything, because the women really are no threat. We are not here to take you down or to kick your tush. We're not here to do any of that. We're here to, you know, really help bring in the next.
Yeah. My philosophy is that the yin yang is within. That is, we're all male, female within, inside, you know. And but I do recognize that the female form is the divine form and is the life giver and is the goddess.
And
I mean, that's what's true.
But we can't give life to a seed.
Yeah, sure. You can that also. So it's yeah, and so the yin yang, and it turns out that we're like 80% of the solar systems in our universe. We're a dual sun solar system. And the yin yang symbol, there's some knowledge that holds that the yin yang symbol, which is kind of a figure 8, is actually the configuration of our dual sun, which is a perpetual motion machine. The dual suns are at the extremes of the perpetual motion machine, and so they go like the figure 8. And right now, we've just passed, our dual suns are at the most extreme, which is, we just passed the end of the Kali Yuga. And that's when there's the most separation and the most desolation and the most destruction. And when the two suns are most together is when the golden ages occur, according to this particular model. So it's very interesting. But we're actually inside a two sun perpetual motion solar system, according to this model.
Right, I saw you posted that last couple of days.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
it's very interesting.
We've had a lot of yin yang crop circles, and
Yeah.
I've got presentations coming up. I just threw out a word, yin yang crop circle, and splattered images. And then I threw out mathematic crop circles, and it splattered images. So for my talk this summer, I decided to overwhelm, because people are being really stubborn about seeing. And so every frame will have 100 crop circles in it of my PowerPoint. Not everyone, but a lot of them will have a dozen or 50 or 100.
Wow.
And I'll just leave it up on the screen and talk a lot, because everybody in the audience will see so many crop circles. And no matter if you're an artist, a plumber, a mathematician, a biologist, you will relate to at least 2 formations. So if you can look at a wall of crop circles and see the one that relates to you, all of a sudden you're going to connect. You're going to resonate.
Right.
You're going to get it.
Now,
you're going to win.
I also would urge you to start a contest. I'm tossing out ideas that may get shot down, may not work. Urge you to start a contest for an alternative term to crop circle that relates to the relationship between the Earth and the other participants in creating that manifestation that up until now has been labeled crop circle, but that is more expressive of the dynamics and the messaging.
That'll be an interesting thread.
Because I think that while crop circle may have been useful, that now crop circle doesn't embody the full dynamics and the messaging. You know, it doesn't, you see what I'm saying? It doesn't, because we're now moving into, we're actually moving into the new Earth. And so that many of us are actually walking and living on the new Earth.
Well, we want to bring more people with us. And
that's what exactly.
About giving people tools to step out of your own way and start being more mindful with the experiences you're having, so that you can cope better and move quicker. Because when the shift happens, it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be in a year, but that 2012 thing that we're talking about, we are in it.
Yeah.
That Kali Yuga, that shifto changeo, in it. And all of a sudden there's going to be that moment where everything's different. So the more we can raise our frequency and improve our empath nature, our telepathic nature, the easier it's going to be when we get to the other side. And
I understand. I used to, I remember back in the early 80s, there was a group, they called that the cosmic changeover. And so they were waiting, in the mid 80s, there were groups that were waiting for the cosmic changeover to happen tomorrow. So, but it's a frequency. So there are groups that are trying to keep it from happening because they're afraid that they will cease to exist when it happens.
And they will cease to exist when it happens.
Yeah.
And that's the evolution of humanity. So on that note, I do want to really remind all of us to be your best.
Yeah.
Be kind to people. Stay in your higher version of yourself. And we could have done a name tossing, punch out show today, but we made a conscious choice, you and I, to say, raise the frequency, talk about the magic. I mean, to me.
And be on the new earth.
And to be living it.
Living it.
To be demonstrating it and really encouraging others to step into their own game and to stop judging, but to start seeing.
Now,
and that right there is huge.
Where and how on the new earth can people reach you?
At cropcirclefilms.com, 24/7. Cropcirclefilms.
See how easy that is?
Yes. Well, I hope people will reach me because I am ready. I'm ready to really bring on the change. And only because I'm calling out a lot of the funded people that shouldn't be publicly brainwashing millions daily, nightly, I am not getting invited like I used to. But I'd rather not be invited than be paid to lie. So I think that I'm willing to stay in my integrity and keep doing everything that I can to bring others with me, because if we stay in this old shallow way, we're not going to ascend, and the planet will ascend without us. So I bought the A ticket. I'm going on the fast ride. I'm going to keep working on my program. I'm going to be nicer to people. I'm going to listen more carefully, and I'm going to wear Moldavite and ask my guides when I need opinions. So I thank you so much for your shows. My God, you do this every day of the week, don't you? A new person every day of the week. Alfred, you do?
It's just a flow. It just happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have really brought a lot to the world, and I'm grateful for you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, if I don't hear from 3 or 4 generous people, I'll have to probably do a funding drive, and this video might be a part of it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I am not stopping, and I'm really tired of the movies sitting in the closet waiting for the shift. So if somebody wants to kick in and help us bring this part of the shift, it will at least help us with the food piece. And the shows that you and I are doing with the free energy people, it's happening.
Yeah.
It is just happening. They just rolled out the QT Pi, and the pi was the math sign in Bali at the New Earth Ancient Origins Festival.
Wow.
And they showed it. It lit up the whole event. It was the punchline of a 4-day event.
Oh, that's wonderful.
QT Pi is the free energy device that'll power your house. And it's this beautiful little thing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's here. We just need to get more of your shows to be focused on the next, and less of them keeping us.
Well, this is what I was what channeled came in, and I wanted to say, I would love to do a show on QT Pie with our friend
Sasha Stone.
Yeah, because we have worn so he and I have worn so many hats. On some of those hats, other people put hats on us and said, different hats on us and said, well, now you both got to come to the table, and those hats are incompatible, but those were hats that other people put on us. So yeah, so I realized that over the past couple of weeks. So I would love to do a show with Sasha on Cutie Pie, if
I
you'd
will
like
make
to,
it.
if you'd like to arrange that.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
he's willing to, I would be delighted. Yeah,
yeah,
I just did a few with him also. I mean, you know, the only MO I have is to get the data out. I would
yeah,
love it if I could paid, but in the meantime, I'm
yeah,
just going with the big boy with you, Sasha. I know
yeah,
all the right people. You know, I mean, the good
yeah,
thing
yeah,
about being in the 10 years and all these events is that I've met everyone.
yeah,
And but my discernment is so much more tight than so many people. So a lot of times I say to my roommate, you know, who's a psychic, I say, God, you're so much nicer than me. But she's a lot more willing to be, you know, I have no patience when people are lying. I just have no patience, and I usually walk away. I don't get mad. I don't get insulting. I just leave. But I think that the discernment is the biggest piece in ufology now, that people have really got to raise their sight and listening abilities to start saying, I'm done with listening to this garbage, because a lot of it is about fear. A lot of it is about confusion. And a lot of it is basically distraction. So none of my 8 movies have a minute of fear, distraction, or falsity. They were all filmed in the crop circles with the people that are there year after year. It's not that crop circles are more important than UFO landings or spaceships. That the difference in crop circles is we have physical evidence. We have biophysical evidence in every crop circle. You
and
can't fake it.
so, yeah, and so your films are films made from, in, and of the new Earth.
Yep.
By
Buster,
definition. By
Buster Gamble,
definition.
thank you. He said, I hit the target in movie 1. You know,
There you
finding the
go.
and the
Right.
interesting thing with that binary code, and I'll send it to you as a screenshot so you can, you know, put it in this video. But the thing about that find that nobody will acknowledge, a couple of men said to me, oh, Patty, you're so woo-woo. Can you get the big boys to look at it and say, yes, it's true? So I was like, give me the name of the big boys. And they were so full of crap. I'm sorry. They were just like, me, 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 me. And then I showed the screenshot to Penny Kelly. And I didn't tell her what it was. I told the other guys what it was. And I said, I'm not asking you if it's real. I know it's real. I want to know what the binary code says. But they were like, it's not real. I mean, it's a glitch. It's like, whatever. Okay, bye. So only because of the way I found it. I wasn't looking. I didn't do the math. I was told. And then there it was. So I showed it to Penny, and she looks right at the photo, and she goes, wow, 2 plasma balls communicating in a binary code. Where'd you get that? And I said, I cannot believe that's the first words that come out of your mouth.
Right.
You are waiting for 8 movies. And I said, what makes you say that? And she said, I'm looking at it. And I was like, oh my God, I've been waiting. You know, why did I waste time on these famous guys? You know, so sure enough, I said, tell me what the code says.
Yeah.
And she says, well, the 2 balls of light, they're telling each other what they're going to do. I'll do this, you do that. And the field went down in seconds. It was like, I knew that. I just needed somebody other than Woo Woo Girl to say it. So Penny, with all of her degrees and wisdom and 23 books, she said it. So, and she said it in a mere second. And when I told her it was Oliver's Castle, she was just dumbfounded. Like, how did you find that when none of the rest of them did? And I said, they, her, made me. So, you know, you can't tell a mother that she didn't just have a baby. I wore it, I grew it, it came out, it's talking, you know.
Yeah.
So you tell me the crop circles are fake. I've worn it, I've been in them, I've had the baby, and there's nothing in me. I mean, that story about the guys with the shadow people and the ball of light, did they ever go make another crop circle? I don't think so. I think they got the message. Well, I wish that message on the rest of the world. I really want us all to be contacted by ultra dimensionals and gifted the mirror. Everything that we deserve comes to us now. And that's what the fifth dimensional reality is that all that we're doing, all that we've created, now we're going to get it back. And I think one of the most interesting things that my dear friend Sam, who passed away in December, but a very important part of the evolution, he said something to me that really calmed me down about all the surveillance. The surveillance has really bothered me because I'm just watching it go up on every street in Boulder, Colorado. These fake street lights, we know what they are. They don't go on at night. During the day, there's one lit. It's like, yeah, street lights. So most people don't notice it. Of course I do, conspiracy girl. And so I've been really bothered by the fact that, you know, I mean, why don't we just drive down the road and throw our shirt up, give it to them, you know? I mean, what do you want? What do you need? And so I was really feeling like, I mean, not that I have much to hide. I'm talking on the air all the time about what I know. But I used to feel kind of victimized by that level of scrutiny. And then I started to realize with the corruption and with the pedophile problem and with the 2 sets of books with the film people, that perhaps, and this is what Sam said to me, he said, the surveillance isn't for you. It's for them. It's for all the criminals. How do you think we're going to catch them? And I went, God, I never looked at it as a good thing. Now, if this is the one piece that a lot of people feel relief from our show, it gave me huge relief to say, oh my God, it's actually to pick off the enemies. It actually is. So as we shift, we're shifting by removing the enemy. We're shifting by taking all that surveillance and realizing where the fish smells like fish is. And now you've got all the documentation to back it up. Every phone call, every time you made love to your wife in your bedroom with the TV, or you walk by the fridge or the stove or the microwave. Yeah, that kind of stinks that we've got everybody looking at us in our home. On the other hand, what if 10,000 pedophiles are gone in 6 months? What if they were really sniffing for all the true evil of earth, all the liars, cheaters, and thieves? What if that's what the surveillance was for? And that's where I want to stay with it. It's not for the good people doing good work. It's to take out the trash and end this corruption. And even though we think it's all the corrupt people that are running it, guess what? Maybe it's not. Maybe there really is a new military. Maybe there really is a new United States. Maybe there really is a fifth dimensional world that's happening while we sit here suffering and eating poisoned food and poisoned water and all this. What if it's just an illusion? And we can step out of it by being conscious and saying, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with that old way. So instead of waiting for the government to disclose, it's not about them, it's about us. Leaving them behind. All the corrupt film people, leaving them behind. Oh, these poor brainwashed kids that didn't have any choice, that are just being mind controlled and used as slaves. Gonna have to leave them behind and hope that their next body, their parents don't give them away. And I don't mean that in particular to somebody. I just mean that I'm hearing an awful lot of stories of people whose parents just gave them away to the rings, to the military, to the MyLab. I mean, that's not the world we're moving into. But the world we're moving into is the world where we take our power back and we really move our consciousness into the place where we want it to be. And we have the ability to do that. And you and I know it. And most of your audience knows it. We have everything we need. We have all the free energy. We have all the advanced technologies. We have to leave this present situation completely behind. And all of us need to step forward into the new. So my friend that helped me get out of all this being affected, she gave me these mantras. And it's my last tool for the new paradigm that I want to leave you with. And the mantra, no matter what the world tells you, is this: I love and approve of myself. I love and approve of myself. I love and approve of myself. I forgive and I'm forgiven. I forgive and I'm forgiven. I forgive and I'm forgiven. 3 times. Sets it in your brain, moves it into your heart. Say it till you mean it. And you'll start being less affected by the old world. I love and approve of myself. That seems so silly, but you know, God, the first few times I tried it, I was like, no, because I was still letting myself be affected. But it's a really, really good thing to start taking our power back consciously every day with all these tricks. Moldavite, get a communication tool with your guides. Turmeric to get your body feeling better. Quicksilver Scientific, find out if you're full of mercury, arsenic, all these horrific things that they're piling in us. And then detox. So we don't need to be a part of the old way. I don't go to doctors or dentists anymore. I don't trust them. I feel sorry for them because I think a lot of them are under gag order. But new paradigm, if you guys have a dentist you've been going to for 30 years, I don't care. Ask the dentist, do you serve mercury fillings? If he says yes, that's the first to merit. Do you serve fluoride rinse? If they say yes, it's up to you. Find a new dentist because we have biodentistry. We have conscious dentistry. But if you go to a dentist that's still doing mercury and serving fluoride treatments, you're a fool. I'm sorry. We can't help that dentist evolve. They've been doing mercury for so many years that they've got Mad Hatter on the brain. I'm not being mean to dentists. I'm just saying I'm experienced. This is not guessing. I think they've got a gag order going because the CDC, the AMA, the FDA, the ADA, all these criminal organizations, and I'm sorry to be so blatant on the air, but they're not acting in our best interest, and everybody knows. But the only way we can help ourselves is to ask our dentist, ask our doctors. And if the doctors are really pushing vaccines on you, well, then you have to make a conscious choice. There's other doctors. Don't keep supporting those clinics. And if we stop the money flow into the places that are still poisoning people, that's where we make change. So it's up to each and every one of us to stop supporting the problem. If you know you're listening to mind-controlled data, then you better figure out if it was true data, they wouldn't have to force people to do it who can't really think for themselves. So it's up to us. Great discernment now. 2017 is the year of the shift. And it's not going to bring everybody with us. It's only going to be the people that choose to step in to their consciousness. Everybody's going to move, but as far as going into the next dimension where it's going to be so much better, it's going to take each one of us to step into it on our own. It's not like autopilot. It's do the work, and we're all going to get there. Some quicker than others, but we're all going to get there. So cropcirclefilms.com. I love you all. Keep your eyes to the skies and stop listening to the liars and cheaters and thieves. It's up to each one of us to use our discernment and start seeing everyone.
Thank you.